Chapter 17:15. A few humanoid figures of light from the spirit domain floated in the sky, and one of them said, "The King of Kings' prophecy has been fulfilled. That King of Kings' legatee has descended with such a terrifying aura, and he will definitely become an extremely terrifying existence in the future. Should we go and take a look?" Another person said, "There's no need. After all, the second King of Kings has descended, and our spirit race can't change anything. We'll just follow the will of the heavens and let him do what he wants." Another person disagreed, saying, "Back in the King of Kings era, the other 7 races were all suppressed. Even though our spirit race was not affected as much because we were small in numbers, this is still a shocking matter. Even if we don't participate, we should go and take a look." Hearing this, the others nodded and turned into rays of light and disappeared. In the ghost domain, a white-haired, skinny elder giving off dense ghostly chi looked into the distance with a deep gaze and said seriously, as expected from the King of Kings' legatee. He used the Supreme Emperor Star to descend and sent shockwaves throughout the entire heaven domain. His methods are even more terrifying than the King of Kings from back then. Perhaps others think that he will become a terrifying figure like the King of Kings, but I have a feeling that the second King of Kings will become even more terrifying than the first King of Kings. If the entire Outlander race listens to him, the Outlander race will truly rise up. I want to see what kind of terrifying person he is. The elder narrowed his eyes and turned into a gray ray of light as he disappeared over the horizon. Within the water domain's boundless deep sea, a group of water race experts gathered together, and a beautiful middle-aged woman said, "This second King of Kings is simply too terrifying. He's caused such massive ripples that the entire heaven domain has been shaken, and who knows how many old monsters have woken up." A fishman said with a dark expression, "That's the second King of Kings. How could he not be terrifying? I feel that we should hurry over and take a look. Most of the people from the other domains have already gone over." Another octopus-like person said, "We should go and have a look at such a terrifying person. There are most likely many people who want to kill the second King of Kings. When the time comes, we can act according to the situation." A man with scales said seriously, "Back then, under the King of Kings' leadership, the Outlander race was simply too terrifying. Even the most powerful god race, the demon race, and the devil race did not dare to fight with the Outlander race. Back then, our water race was greatly suppressed and humiliated. I think it's best not to leave this person alive, or else that era will come again." The group of water-kind warriors responded, nodded, then transformed into streams of light and disappeared. Perhaps some people did not know what kind of terrifying figure the second King of Kings was and only felt that he was incredibly terrifying. They did not know his background or identity, and they did not know anything about him. However, there were 2 factions that knew and were incredibly shocked. The first was naturally the Heaven's Secrets Pavilion, which had been paying attention to Zhao Fu this entire time. Just like before, an elder was observing Zhao Fu's 5 Emperor stars in the boundless sea of stars. Suddenly, countless rays of green light spread out, giving off terrifying auras, and the entire boundless sea of stars seemed to tremble. In front of this aura, that elder felt like he was less than an ant, and his body felt icy cold, as if he had fallen into an abyss. The people outside sensed the terrifying ripples from the Outlander domain, and looked incredibly shocked. They did not know who this second King of Kings was. A young man in white said in shock, "The King of Kings left behind this prophecy, and it actually came true after so many years. This requires unimaginable prophecy abilities. Back then, the King of Kings was simply too terrifying." A pure-looking woman in white said, "Don't worry about the prophecy. Right now, the second King of Kings is the most important person. Now that the Emperor stars have descended, he has received boundless heaven's secrets blessing. The various races experts have all hurried over, but who knows what the outcome will be." A calm-looking young man said seriously, The various large races most likely won't allow such a terrifying figure to descend. Now, it's up to the Outlander race to see if they can protect the second King of Kings. A young woman said happily and excitedly, I also want to go and see just what kind of terrifying figure the second King of Kings is. To be able to become the King of Kings and awaken the Outlander race's Emperor Star, he's definitely an incredibly rare person. Hurry, call the Fate Sovereign. An extremely nervous and terrified voice suddenly sounded out, causing everyone to feel quite startled. They did not know what was going on, but they knew that something big had happened, so they hurriedly went to inform the Fate Sovereign. The pure and holy young woman in white stood on a building and looked into the distance. She had naturally sensed the terrifying ripples from the Outlander domain. She was wondering what kind of person the King of Kings was and what kind of impact he would have on the Heaven Awaken world. She also wondered if the various races' experts would be able to kill this second King of Kings. At that moment, some people hurried over to her and reported that something big had happened. Hearing this, the young woman looked quite startled and felt quite confused. However, after coming to the Heaven's Secrets Pavilion and allowing her consciousness to enter the boundless Heaven's secrets, looking at the green light, she instantly understood everything. She was greatly startled and almost fell to the ground. No matter how she thought about it, she would never have thought that the terrifying second King of Kings would be him. If word of this got out, it would be enough to scare countless people to death. The young woman looked quite serious and did not say anything else, and she went to meet some old monsters from the Heaven's Secrets Pavilion. Apart from the Heaven's Secrets Pavilion, there was another faction that knew about Zhao Fu's identity, which was the Heaven Spirit Financial Group. They had been paying close attention to Zhao Fu's blood the entire time. At that moment, the orb of blood gave off boundless green light, and an incredibly terrifying aura spread out, causing people to feel terror. Immediately, countless powerful figures from the Heaven Spirit Financial Group gathered here and looked at the orb of blood in shock. They had never thought that Zhao Fu's performance would once again greatly exceed their expectations. They had never thought that the King of Kings who had caused such shocking ripples would be him. Back to the Outlander domain. It had been said before that terrifying figures had long since come to the Outlander domain, waiting to see if that terrifying prophecy would come true. Chapter 17:16. Boom. Boom. At this moment, there was no longer a need for countless experts to hide. They exploded out with terrifying auras and appeared in the sky. Their auras were like wild gales that wreaked havoc in all directions. The extremely dangerous auras flooded out, causing the entire world to fall into a cold and oppressive atmosphere. The expressions of the countless people who had been looking at Zhao Fu in shock fell, and they felt a wave of terror. Soon, someone stepped out and said loudly, Outlander 10 College's examination has concluded. Those who have nothing to do with this should quickly leave. Countless people understood that something terrifying was about to erupt, and they felt quite terrified and hurriedly left the viewing platforms. There was no point in staying. In front of those powerful people, they were like ants that could be easily slaughtered. As such, no one dared to stay on the viewing platforms. However, some of the terrifying figures on the viewing platforms chose to stay. They understood these people's goal, and with their powerful strength, they did not fear them. Boom. 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 There were also experts hiding in the surroundings in order to defend against these Outlander experts. They gave off powerful auras as they appeared. They would not allow anything to happen to the second King of Kings. He was the hope of the entire Outlander race. Both sides stood on different sides, and each side gave off powerful auras. The two massive auras continuously clashed, resulting in massive gales that swept out. At the same time, the terrifying auras reached their peak, and the surrounding air seemed to freeze, making it difficult for people to breathe. Their bodies instinctively trembled. On the side of the attackers, a middle-aged man in black clothes giving off killing intent said loudly, "Hurry up and hand over the second King of Kings and let us seal the King of Kings' sword." On the side of the defenders, a green-robed elder with a ruddy face coldly replied, "You're delusional. Do you really think we'd do that? Also, you're acting so arrogantly in the Outlander domain. Aren't you afraid of staying here forever?" The middle-aged man in black wildly laughed as he said, "You don't need to worry about us. You should be the ones worrying. Do you really think you can protect him? The experts of the 7 domains are all rushing over. Do you think that your foreign domain alone can stop the 7 domains? Also, this isn't the era of the King of Kings. Can the Outlander race still unite? Most likely, many people wanted the second King of Kings to die. You don't have any hope in this battle, so don't put up any pointless resistance. When the time comes, it will be too late for you to regret." The green-robed elder's expression was a bit ugly, because the black-clothed middle-aged man was right. Their foreign land wasn't the strongest realm to begin with, and it was impossible for them to resist the joint attack of the 7 realms. More importantly, times were different now. Back then, countless races had revered him as the King of Kings and were willing to listen to the King of Kings' orders. However, would the countless races still do the same now? The answer is uncertain. The green-robed elder said coldly, "No matter what, we're protecting the second King of Kings. If you have the ability, you can do it over our corpses." The black-clothed middle-aged man snorted coldly, "That's your own death wish." Boom! The black-clothed middle-aged man exploded out with a massive blood-red flame as he held a large blood-red saber and gave off a powerful aura as he charged at the green-robed elder. Boom! The green-robed elder did not show any fear and also exploded out with a massive green aura flame. He held a spear and gave off a terrifying aura as he rushed over. Bang! A massive explosion sounded out as the 2 people gave off terrifying power as they clashed together, resulting in a terrifying shockwave. It gave off destructive power as it blasted out, destroying everything in the surroundings. It was not just the 2 of them. Everyone else also exploded out with great power and held their weapons as they rushed at each other. Bang! 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 Massive explosions sounded out as the battle was extremely intense. Waves of terrifying destructive power turned into wild gales that wreaked havoc, and the destructive aura spread out like a tide. Sensing the terrifying shockwaves behind them, the countless people who had left the viewing platforms felt quite startled and their bodies felt cold. They understood that the intense battle behind them was simply too terrifying, and it was all for the second King of Kings. Boom! 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 The other domain's experts brought large forces and joined in, causing the battle to become even more intense. However, the situation was not looking good for the protectors because the attackers outnumbered them. The major figures on the viewing platforms hesitated and wondered if they should act or not. Just as the black-clothed middle-aged man had said, with their prestigious statuses, they did not want to stand at the foot of the King of Kings and acknowledge him as their king. As such, they did not want the King of Kings to appear. Of course, if it was their disciple who had appeared as the King of Kings, they would be quite happy. However, it was a stranger who had nothing to do with them, so they did not want to act. However, now that the other domains were bullying the Outlander race, if they did not do anything, it would be too humiliating. Moreover, if the Outlander race lost, they would be suppressed and mocked by the other 7 domains. Moreover, the King of Kings was the Outlander race's hope of rising up. Without him, the Outlander race would have no hope in the future. After thinking for a while, some experts exploded out with terrifying auras and joined the battle, choosing to defend against the invaders. There were naturally those who had liked Zhao Fu before. They had admired Zhao Fu and had wanted to marry their princesses to Zhao Fu. However, they had never thought that Zhao Fu would become the Outlander race's King of Kings. This was completely out of their expectations. This time, they had chosen to stand on Zhao Fu's side and had decided to marry their princesses to Zhao Fu. After all, Zhao Fu was the ruler of the Outlander race in name, and countless Outlander races had to submit to him. Moreover, this would be of great benefit to them, which was why they had chosen to participate and protect the second King of Kings, Zhao Fu. However, some people did not act, but they did not leave either, waiting to see how things would develop. Boom, boom, boom explosions sounded out as Outlander 10 College's experts gave off terrifying auras as they appeared. This was their territory, and they had protected the King of Kings' legacy for countless years. If nothing went wrong, they would definitely stand on Zhao Fu's side. Chapter 1717. This included the gnome elder and serious-looking middle-aged man, who did not like Zhao Fu. They looked resolute and decided to protect the Outlander race's hope, the second King of Kings, and they could not allow any harm to come to him. Even though they did not like Zhao Fu's character, Zhao Fu had exceeded their expectations time and time again. Now that Zhao Fu had become the King of Kings, they felt as if they had been conquered and were willing to protect him. As for Zhao Fu's other matters, they did not care at all because Zhao Fu was the ruler of the Outlander race. In front of him, everything else did not matter. Bang, 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 the battle became more and more intense, and terrifying power spread out, sending out intense gales. Sharp light shot everywhere, and space twisted and tore apart, creating a terrifying scene. However, with Outlander 10 College and the experts on the viewing platforms joining in, the defenders were able to suppress the attackers. This made the man in black's expression become quite unsightly, and if this went on, they could only retreat. Boom, boom, boom. The man in black did not worry for too long, and the experts from the other domains gave off powerful auras as they descended and joined in the terrifying battle, causing the two sides to reach a balance. Boom! Suddenly, a massive explosion sounded out as if the heavens and earth were collapsing. An incredibly terrifying shockwave spread out with destructive power, creating long spatial cracks. The people fighting felt quite startled and were affected by the shockwave. They stopped and looked at the sky. Countless rays of intense green starlight shot out from the cracks, and an enormous green star giving off a boundless aura slowly descended from the sky. The heavens and earth seemed to sink as a massive pressure descended. The powerful, chaotic, ferocious, and noble aura was incredibly dense, and it flooded out like a flood, easily inundating everything. Countless rays of green starlight flashed past mountains, rivers, cities, grass, and trees, covering the entire world. Countless people stared at the horizon with wide eyes and saw a resplendent azure star appear. Looking at this resplendent star, everyone felt as if their eyes were brimming with tears, and they felt a sense of familiarity from their bloodlines. By now, whether it was the farmers working in the fields, the peddlers on the streets, the ordinary people walking on the streets, or the nobles with prestigious identities, they all understood that the King of Kings' prophecy had been fulfilled, and the second King of Kings had descended. Tears of excitement flowed out of everyone's eyes as they knelt on the ground, welcoming the second King of Kings' descent. To them, the King of Kings was a legendary existence, and he was someone worshipped by countless outlanders. Everyone in the world knew of his name. At that moment, a pillar of green light shot down from the Emperor's star and landed on Zhao Fu's body. Zhao Fu felt boundless star energy flow into his body, causing his body to heat up and once again go through changes. Within the secret realm, countless people looked at Zhao Fu within the pillar of starlight in shock. They had never thought that Zhao Fu would pull out the King of Kings' sword and become the second King of Kings, and he had awakened the Outlander race's supreme Emperor star. The elephant person looked incredibly shocked and could not help but gulp. Thinking back to his battle with Zhao Fu, he felt a trace of fear in his heart. He had been fighting with the legendary King of Kings. Yuluawa also looked incredibly shocked. No matter how proud she was, facing Zhao Fu, she felt an urge to lower her head. She felt incredibly powerless, as if Zhao Fu was standing at the peak of a mountain while she was standing at the foot of the mountain. She was deeply subdued. The orc person started to feel nervous as he stared at the scene in front of him. Zhao Fu had become the King of Kings, This was simply too terrifying. Fortunately, there had not been any conflict between them, or else facing such a terrifying person, his empire would have given up on him. The ogre looked at Zhao Fu in shock and inwardly sighed. No wonder he had such terrifying power. So he was the future king of kings. Now, he had lost without any resentment. The lion person also looked at Zhao Fu in shock, and massive waves crashed in his heart. He could not calm down for a long time, and his body felt incredibly cold. Hubaime stared at Zhao Fu with her beautiful eyes and could not help but think of what she had said before, saying that her body was only fit for the King of Kings. She had never thought that Zhao Fu would actually become the King of Kings. The dragon person looked quite dispirited. Facing Zhao Fu with his status, he would have to look up to Zhao Fu in the future. The dwarf person felt quite shocked and marveled at Zhao Fu's power. It was simply too terrifying. Now that he had become the King of Kings, he had to take good care of his relationship with him in the future. This could affect his fate in the future. Medusa had wanted to challenge Zhao Fu in the future, but it seemed that she would not have the chance to do so. The distance between the two of them had been pulled to an unbridgeable level, and she could only look up at him without any thoughts. The Sun Elf's expression was quite unsightly. He had never thought that Zhao Fu would become the King of Kings and the ruler of the entire Outlander race. All of this could have belonged to him, but it now belonged to Zhao Fu. The blood-haired young man's eyes widened as he looked at Zhao Fu in shock. Even he had not been able to pull out the sword, but Zhao Fu had done so. This meant that Zhao Fu was more powerful and had more potential than him, and it was the first time that the blood-haired young man had suffered such a mental blow. Zhao Fu did not care about any gazes and focused on absorbing the massive power, causing his body to go through changes and making his bloodline even purer. Boom! 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 Terrifying auras descended, causing wild gales to spread out. The various experts once again sensed this, and at the same time, the Outlander experts quickly gathered over. They were now personally witnessing the Outlander Supreme Emperor star descend. One by one, the experts stood in the air, exuding a terrifying power as they stared at the green star in the sky. Right now, no one dared to make a move against it, because, under such a massive amount of fate, if they were to make a move, they would suffer an unimaginable backlash from the fate. Even half-step immortals might die. They waited for the abnormal signs to end and for the massive amount of fate to dissipate. That would be the time for them to act. Bang! 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 Some people exploded out with powerful power to attack the secret realm, and attacks slammed against the secret realm's barrier, resulting in massive sounds. They wanted to destroy the secret realm's barrier and enter to prevent the second King of Kings from escaping. Chapter 17-18. Boom! Boom! The battle between the two sides was extremely intense, and there were even more foreign race and domain experts joining in with powerful auras. This was perhaps the most powerful battle in the past few thousand years, and it was also the most intense one. However, things were not so simple, and even more experts gave off terrifying auras and hurried over. In the end, most of the Heaven Domain's experts arrived, and they all gave off terrifying auras. The space continuously twisted, unable to withstand so many experts descending. The atmosphere became incredibly oppressive, making it difficult for people to breathe. The situation was completely disadvantageous for the Outlander race's side. The experts from the other 7 domains had surrounded the Outlander race's expert. Even though this was the Outlander race's territory, most of the experts from the other 7 domains had come, and they greatly outnumbered the Outlander race. Countless people felt that the Outlander race would not be able to protect the second King of Kings, which was a great pity. After waiting for so many years, the second King of Kings was about to die at the hands of the other 7 domains. On the attacking side, an elder giving off large amounts of demonic chi looked at the Outlander race's experts with his jet-black eyes and said, "Hand over the second King of Kings, or else you'll all die here." In the end, the second King of Kings will still die at our hands. The Outlander race's experts' expressions were quite unsightly. They were facing the experts of the other 7 domains, and they felt immense pressure. It was possible that they would die here. However, were they really going to hand over the second King of Kings? He was the hope that the Outlander race had waited for countless years. If they handed him over, it would be a humiliation that the Outlander race would never be able to wash away. The experts of the 7 domains gave confident smiles. The experts of the 7 domains were working together to pressure the Outlander race's experts, forcing them to hand over the second King of Kings. If they did not hand him over, they would forcefully attack. They would directly kill the second King of Kings and destroy his soul, and seal the King of Kings' sword. That way, there would not be a new King of Kings in this world. In actuality, if it wasn't for the fact that this was Outlander 10 College's territory and there were many things that they feared, they would have directly attacked instead of wasting words with them. The atmosphere was incredibly oppressive, and it was as if a world-destroying battle was about to erupt at any moment. The Outlander race's experts' expressions were quite unsightly, and the experts of the 7 domains looked at them with ill intent. Boom! Suddenly, an explosion sounded out as a blood-red starlight spread out in the sky, and an aura of disaster and slaughter flooded out, causing the world to sink into icy terror. A massive blood-red star giving off a terrifying might slowly descended. Many of the experts present were stunned and did not know what was going on. Boom! Another explosion sounded out as countless traces of golden starlight spread out, dyeing the sky golden. An incredibly noble aura that seemed to cause the heavens and earth to submit spread out as a massive golden star giving off terrifying power descended. The faces of all the experts turned into shock when they saw this scene. Huge waves surged in their hearts, but this wasn't the end yet. Boom! 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 Massive explosions continuously sounded out, shaking the surroundings. A gray star giving off a boundless cold and eerie aura, a violet dragon star giving off massive amounts of devil chi, and a black star giving off boundless demonic chi slowly descended from the sky, giving off immense might. The Chaos Imperial Star, Celestial Emperor Star, Nether Emperor Star, Violet Sky Dragon Star, and Demon Lord Star all gave off intense lights that covered the entire world, giving off an aura that seemed to suppress the heavens and earth. The sky became 6 colors, with the 6 Emperor Stars as the main ones. 6 terrifying auras inundated the world, causing all creatures to sink into terror. The second King of Kings was actually the person with 5 Emperor Stars, who had caused such a commotion. No, now he has 6 Emperor Stars? How is this possible? It was not just the experts of the 7 domains who looked at the sky in shock. Even the Outlander race's experts were the same. They had never thought that the Outlander race's hope, the second King of Kings, was the person with 5 Emperor Stars. Within the secret realm, the geniuses all looked on in disbelief, including the Sun Elf and the blood-haired young man. The geniuses had never thought that Zhao Fu would have such a terrifying identity. Before, they had been discussing why Zhao Fu did not use his own Emperor Stars. It turned out that he had 5 Emperor Stars. If he used all 5 Emperor Stars, the Sun Elf would most likely be defeated. However, Zhao Fu's identity would also be exposed, and everyone would know that he was that peerless figure with 5 Emperor Stars. This also explained why Zhao Fu had a powerful human race aura and a terrifying demon race aura, as well as the 6 paths of reincarnation power. Those 5 Emperor Stars explained everything. The Sun Elf felt a sense of defeat that he had never felt before. That terrifying battle with Zhao Fu had made him feel that even though he had lost, he would become much stronger in the future and that he would definitely be able to defeat Zhao Fu. However, that had all been an illusion. Zhao Fu had not used his true power and had only used his body's power. If he had summoned 5 Emperor Stars, he would definitely have lost. Now, Zhao Fu not only had 5 Emperor Stars but also an Outlander Emperor Star and had the King of Kings sword. The Sun Elf felt a sense of despair. Facing an unsurpassable despair, all of his hard work and talent seemed to be trash. No one could compare to him, and it was the first time the Sun Elf had admitted that he was inferior to someone. The blood-haired young man also looked quite shocked. He had never thought that there would be such a terrifying person in the heaven-awakened world. Zhao Fu now had 6 Emperor Stars, and 5 of them were the supreme Emperor Stars of the 5 races. No wonder he had lost to him. He was completely convinced. This matter was also of great importance. That person was definitely hiding a heaven-shaking secret. When he returned, he would properly tell his master about this person. He was simply too terrifying. Even in the Holy Empire, if such a person appeared, it would cause a huge commotion. Before, his big brother had looked down on everyone in the heaven-awakened world, and now that such a terrifying person had appeared, he would definitely be greatly shocked. This person would become his big brother's most powerful opponent. Thinking about that, the blood-haired young man smiled. It was time to go back and deal a blow to his arrogant big brother. Chapter 17-19. Countless experts raised their heads in a daze, their eyes wide open as they looked at the sky. The battle had stopped for some reason, and the surroundings had also fallen into silence. Cough, cough. Seeing the familiar demon Lord Star, the demon Emperor Sect Master Di Jiang lightly coughed and said, "I feel that there's no need to kill the second King of Kings. We can discuss this." Di Jiang's daughter, Di Moji, was in Zhao Fu's harem, so he naturally stood on Zhao Fu's side. At the same time, he felt quite shocked. His son-in-law was simply too terrifying. Not only had he caused such a huge commotion in the demon domain, but he had also caused an even bigger commotion in the Outlander domain. Who knew how many experts were hurrying over? What's more, it was not just 5 Emperor Stars but 6 Emperor Stars, and he had become the second King of Kings, the ruler of the Outlander race. As a father-in-law, he felt quite ashamed in front of his son-in-law. "I also feel that there's no need to be in such a rush. Let's discuss this before dealing with it," a beautiful middle-aged woman said as she stepped out and smiled. She was Yuan Ziyuan's mother, and because of Yuan Ziyuan, she stood on Zhao Fu's side. At the same time, she felt quite shocked. Just what kind of man had her daughter found to be her husband? He was simply too terrifying. Even though he was weak now, thinking about his future potential, she felt that he was simply too insignificant. Some of the factions related to the demon race, as well as those related to Zhao Fu, naturally stood on Zhao Fu's side. After all, they knew who Zhao Fu was, so they all said, "Don't be so rash. Let's discuss this matter." This made everyone feel quite speechless. It was clearly the demon race who had been the most ferocious, and the battle had been incredibly intense. Why were they saying not to be so rash now? A cold-looking woman from the Devil Domain's Dragon Imperial Palace gave off a powerful aura as she walked out and said, "I also feel that there's no need to be in a rush to kill that person." Everyone was stunned, and they all turned to look at the cold woman. Why did someone from the Devil region also stand out to speak? In actuality, the Dragon Imperial Palace's people had been looking for Zhao Fu this entire time. After all, Zhao Fu had obtained the 10,000 Dragons legacy and was the legatee of the Dragon Imperial Palace's 9th Palace Lord. Not only did he have the Dragon Imperial bloodline, but he had also awakened the Violet Sky Dragon Star. Logically speaking, Zhao Fu was part of the Dragon Imperial Palace. The cold woman had never imagined that the 9 Dragons Emperor's successor, whom she had been searching for all this time, would be found so easily. What shocked her even more was that the successor Old 9 had found was truly terrifying. If he could become the Dragon Emperor Palace's Hall Master, he would definitely have many supporters. Moreover, the Dragon Emperor Palace would receive unimaginable benefit. According to the agreement between the 9 of them, Zhao Fu, the successor of the 9 Dragons Emperor, was qualified to become the Dragon Hall Master. The Dragon Emperor Palace was one of the most powerful factions in the Devil Domain, and since she stood out to speak, some other experts from the Devil Domain also stood out and said, "We also feel that there's no need to be in a hurry to kill that second King of Kings. We still need to discuss this matter." Everyone could not help but curse inwardly. Just then, the Devil race had been fighting just as ferociously as the Demon race, wanting to rush in and blast that person to pieces. Why did the situation change so quickly? A horned man with a pale face gave off ghostly chi as he eerily laughed. "I also feel that there's no need to be in a hurry to kill that person. He has our Death Race's Supreme Emperor's Star and the Underworld's Supreme Six Paths Demon Image's bloodline, so he has a great connection to our Death Race." An elderly man giving off ghostly chi said in agreement, "I also feel that it's like that. We can't just casually kill someone who has such a connection to our Death Race." Some people from the Death Race also stood out and said, "That makes sense. Since he has such a great connection to our Death Race, perhaps he's also one of us. We feel that we should clarify this matter first before deciding how to deal with him." Everyone felt quite startled. Why was the Death Race also speaking up? Moreover, they were saying that they should not be in a hurry to kill the second King of Kings, and that they should deal with him after clarifying things. On the human domain side, a light laugh sounded out as the human Phoenix Empire's ruler, Feng Qianhuang, said, "In actuality, I also feel that we shouldn't be in a hurry to kill that boy. After all, he has our human race's celestial Emperor's Star. We can't let him die for nothing." Feng Qianhuang lightly smiled, but she felt quite shocked inwardly. Her daughter's judgment was not simple at all. She had actually taken a liking to such a terrifying man. Moreover, she had long since sensed that this person would definitely become a peerless figure who could shake the heaven-awakened world. It seemed that her daughter's feelings were not wrong at all. She had greatly underestimated that person. It was a pity that her daughter had caught him back then, but he had escaped in the end. If her daughter had taken this boy as a concubine back then, the benefits to the human Phoenix Empire would have been delirious with joy. The Sword Sex Sect Master also stepped out and gave a trace of a smile as he said, "I think so too. I think we shouldn't be in a hurry to kill him. Let's talk to the second King of Kings first before dealing with him." Now, the Sword Sex Sect Master felt quite delighted. The Sword Sect had been searching for this person with the celestial slaying sword intent for a long time, and he was finally going to see just what kind of terrifying figure he was. In the past, his daughter had described how extraordinary this person was, and even though he had been quite shocked back then, he was quite shocked now. He had never thought that after such a short period of time, he would be able to cause such terrifying ripples. His daughter had always been thinking about that celestial slaying sword intent, and if the two of them were suitable, they could consider being together. Thinking about that, the Sword Sex Sect Master could not help but smile. Some people from the human domain also stepped out and said the same thing. Back when the Celestial Emperor's Star had awakened, many people had been searching for this person. Now that they had finally found him, he was most likely from the human race. If the human race had such a terrifying genius, the benefits to the human domain would be unimaginable. As such, they naturally could not bear to kill this person with heaven-defying potential. The Outlander race also looked quite dumbfounded. They had never thought that the Demon race, Death race, Devil race, and Human race would send people to help them. This made them feel incredibly surprised and delighted. Perhaps they would be able to keep their second King of Kings. Moreover, they were also quite shocked. The second King of Kings was the person with 5 Emperor stars. If he became the second King of Kings and led the Outlander race, it would be difficult for the Outlander race not to rise up. When that time came, the Outlander race would truly be at its most glorious, and they might even surpass the first King of Kings era. Chapter 1720. If it was not for the fact that he had a pure Outlander bloodline, they would not have been able to accept him. After all, as the King of Kings of the Outlander race, he had to have a pure Outlander bloodline. Moreover, they were not sure what kind of attitude this King of Kings had towards the Outlander race. The Outlander race was quite dumbfounded, but the God race, Water race, and Spirit race were even more dumbfounded. Out of the Heaven-awakened world's 8 major races, 5 of them had come out to protect that person, and they all seemed to have some sort of relationship with him. Now, only the 3 major races had no relationship with Zhao Fu, and that person did not have their Emperor stars. However, from the looks of it, that person would most likely awaken the God race's Emperor star, Water race's Emperor star, and Spirit race's Emperor star. When that time came, that person would have 8 races' Emperor stars, and adding on his Fate star, he would have 9 Emperor stars in total. Just thinking about it was quite terrifying. There were some people who spoke up for Zhao Fu, but they were in the minority. Most people had come to kill the threat that was Zhao Fu. Moreover, Zhao Fu had piqued their interest, and they wanted to obtain all sorts of secrets from Zhao Fu. They were now even more determined to kill Zhao Fu. A ferocious-looking big man loudly laughed. Since you all agree not to be in a hurry to kill, I agree as well. However, shouldn't we destroy that barrier first so that that person can't escape? The other experts all agreed with this. Right now, the only thing that was protecting them was the barrier. Without the barrier, if so many people charged in, the Outlander race would not be able to stop them at all. When that time came, they would completely lose control, and no one would be able to stop them from doing anything. They could kill or not kill, or even plunder, with a single thought. As such, they wanted to destroy the barrier and control that person's life and death. Di Jiang understood what these people were thinking. Once the barrier was destroyed, he would not be able to stop anything, so he smiled and said, I feel that it's best to wait outside. This is Outlander 10 College's territory, and we're not giving Outlander 10 College any face by doing this. Feng Qianwang lightly laughed as she said, I feel that it should be so. Outlander 10 College is one of the 7 great colleges and is the oldest college, so we should respect it. As such, we should wait here for the signs to dissipate and that person to come out. At this moment, Feng Qianwang was thinking of letting Zhao Fu off this time. Once the barrier was broken, Zhao Fu would definitely die. The cold-looking woman with dragon horns also said coldly, I agree, we shouldn't offend Outlander 10 College too much. Let's wait for that person to come out first. The cold-looking woman also decided to let Zhao Fu off for now. After all, with so many people rushing in, even she would be unable to protect Zhao Fu. As such, she could only let Zhao Fu escape. Perhaps she would be able to see him again in the future. Perhaps because of the inheritance, he would go to the Yao realm one day and stand in front of her on his own accord. She wouldn't have to spend so much effort to find him. The ferocious-looking man sneered, Why didn't I see you guys being respectful just now? What are you pretending for now? Everyone, let's break the barrier together. Boom. Boom, massive explosions sounded out as the experts did not hesitate and exploded out with immense power, ferociously attacking the barrier. Some people also acted to block, and a battle once again unfolded. On the side of the attackers, they definitely had a huge advantage in terms of numbers. Some of them would pin down the defenders, while others would attack the secret realm's barrier with great power. Bang! Bang! Terrifying attacks blasted against the defensive barrier, causing it to slightly tremble. The defensive barrier that protected the King of Kings' sword was quite powerful, and facing the terrifying attacks of so many experts, it only slightly trembled. If it was an ordinary defensive barrier, it would have long since been shattered. However, the experts continuously blasted the barrier with terrifying power, causing it to tremble more and more. If this went on, the barrier would shatter sooner or later. At that moment, the 6 Emperor stars in the sky gradually disappeared, and the abnormal signs in the surroundings calmed down as the heavens and earth returned to normal. Zhao Fu, who was holding the King of Kings' sword, returned to normal and woke up from that massive transformation. He slowly opened his eyes and shot out a ray of green light, and a green pupil appeared in his eyes. Adding on the green pupil in his left eye, there were 10 pupils in total, and the cross-shaped pupil in his right eye had an extra layer of green. In the distance, countless people looked at Zhao Fu in shock. It was now completely silent and no one made a sound. Zhao Fu did not have time to pay attention to them because through the Emperor stars, Zhao Fu understood what was going on outside. The most important thing now was to escape from here. Zhao Fu did not plan to bring anyone else, as that would only make things more dangerous. When that time came, none of them would be able to escape. Luckily, he had left the others to the Dragon Princess and Elf Princess, and they would take care of everything. Zhao Fu did not have to worry about them, and his biggest problem now was how to escape from here. Zhao Fu suddenly remembered that he still had a teleportation medallion. As long as he used it, even higher beings would not be able to stop him, and he should be able to escape from here. Thinking about that, Zhao Fu grinned and took out the teleportation medallion. Just as he was about to use it, he found that he could not use it, causing Zhao Fu to feel quite startled. Following this, Zhao Fu thought of the reason. It was most likely that the battle between the countless experts outside the secret realm was simply too terrifying, causing the surrounding space to fall into chaos and collapse. The combined power was simply unimaginable. As such, Zhao Fu's teleportation medallion, which even higher beings could not stop, could not be used at all, as it could not break through the destroyed region. What should he do now? Zhao Fu felt quite startled as he watched the defensive barrier tremble more and more. Soon, countless experts would charge in, and even if Zhao Fu had 1,000 lives, he would not be able to survive. Bang! 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 Massive explosions once again sounded out as terrifying attacks continuously blasted against the defensive barrier, causing powerful gales to spread out and give off destructive power. Gotcha! A clear sound rang out as a small crack appeared on the secret realm's barrier. Zhao Fu's expression became quite unsightly, and he did not know what to do next. Sensing the auras attacking the defensive barrier, the countless geniuses in the surroundings looked quite unsightly. They did not know what was going on, but they knew that there was a large group of terrifying experts continuously attacking the defensive barrier. Chapter 1721. Moreover, even if it was not for that reason, just those 6 Emperor stars would cause countless experts to charge in, wanting to capture Zhao Fu and ask him about the shocking secrets within. The Sun Elf and blood-haired young man tactfully distanced themselves from Zhao Fu. In front of so many terrifying experts, they were powerless, and it was possible that they would die here. The other 9 geniuses looked at Zhao Fu with pity and quickly left. They did not have the power to change anything, and if those experts died, their factions would not be able to escape justice. Bang! 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 Massive sounds continuously sounded out as the experts continued to use terrifying power to attack the barrier. Shocking auras spread out, and more cracks appeared on the barrier. It seemed that they would soon be able to break through the barrier. Zhao Fu's heart sank, and he could not think of a way to escape. Seeing that more and more cracks appeared on the secret realm, the experts grinned and attacked the barrier even more ferociously. At that moment, within a room in the depths of Outlander 10 College, a silver-haired elder slowly opened his deep, white eyes and looked ahead. His gaze seemed to be able to see through everything, and nothing could stop it. Countless experts' bodies froze and felt a chill in their hearts, as if there was an incredibly terrifying monster looking at them. That person looked at these people, and slowly raised his hand and pressed it against the ground. A massive magic formation appeared, and a terrifying ripple spread out. Boom! 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 Heaven-shaking explosions sounded out as the 34 statues at the entrance gave off intense 10-colored lights and exploded out with terrifying auras, creating massive gales. Bang! 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 Rays of rainbow-colored light shot out from the 34 statues, giving off terrifying power as they shot into the sky. Massive explosions sounded out as they formed 34 rainbow-colored pillars of light that stood between the heavens and the earth. Boundless heaven and earth power continuously gathered and flowed into the 34 pillars of light. The 34 pillars of light quickly moved and surrounded the countless experts, and a terrifying sealing power spread out, seeming to turn the heavens and earth into a cage. Countless cultivators could only feel a terrifying force restraining their bodies, making it impossible for them to move. Zhao Fu felt quite shocked and understood who had acted. Someone with such power was definitely Outlander 10 College's most powerful expert, the Dean of Outlander 10 College. They were the existences that countless people feared the most. However, since the experts dared to act, they had made some preparations. They did not believe that the headmaster would be able to seal so many experts by himself. After all, they were either higher beings or people who were close to becoming higher beings. They immediately joined forces and burst forth with terrifying power. It resisted the powerful sealing power. Outlander 10 College's dean's expression did not change at all, and an unimaginably massive power flowed into the magic formation below him. Boom! An even more terrifying sealing power landed on the bodies of the countless experts, causing their bodies to sink. The countless experts also exploded out with even more terrifying power. Aura flames blazed, seeming as if they could destroy the heavens and earth. At that moment, an ancient voice sounded out in Zhao Fu's mind, "Hurry up and use the medallion to leave. I can't suppress them for too long, and some truly terrifying people are hurrying over." Hearing this, even though Zhao Fu did not know who the elder was, he understood that this person was helping him. He felt delighted and thanked him before using the teleportation medallion. The teleportation medallion gave off boundless silver light that covered Zhao Fu's body, and he turned into a ray of silver light that shot into the sky before disappearing. Seeing the silver light disappear, the countless experts felt quite startled and felt quite furious. They understood that that person had escaped under the protection of Outlander 10 College's dean. However, in the end, they were unable to do anything to Outlander 10 College's dean because he was most likely a half-step celestial. Moreover, this was Outlander 10 College's territory and had Outlander 10 College's magic formation. If they had really fought, many of them would have died here. Since that person had escaped, there was no need for them to continue fighting. Afterwards, some truly terrifying figures descended, causing them to choose to leave as soon as possible. Otherwise, staying here would be quite dangerous. Those terrifying figures were people who stood at the very peak and had existed for countless years. Even higher beings like them felt quite fearful of them. After those truly terrifying figures descended, an incredibly terrifying battle erupted. It was even more terrifying than a world-destroying battle, following which everything calmed down. As for the details of the battle, not many people knew because ordinary higher beings would not be able to participate in that battle, which showed just how terrifying it was. The teleportation medallion gave off boundless silver light that covered Zhao Fu's body and flashed past countless worlds before turning into motes of light and dissipating. Zhao Fu directly arrived in the central domain. He had no idea how many worlds he had passed in an instant. The teleportation medallion's effects were quite powerful. After successfully escaping, Zhao Fu let out a sigh of relief. However, Zhao Fu did not stay here and flew for a while. Only after confirming that he was safe did he relax and take out the golden sword. Even though Zhao Fu had pulled out the sword, he had only obtained some basic information about it, which was that it was called the King of Kings' Sword. As for its other abilities and information, Zhao Fu did not know. He needed to continuously activate this sword's power. Zhao Fu was not from the Outlander race and had never heard of the legend of the King of Kings, so he did not know the complete information about this sword. However, thinking about it, it was most likely not simple. After all, this was a sword that even the possessor of an Emperor's Star and the Outlander race's holy son could not pull out. If he could activate its power, it would be able to destroy the heavens and earth, and would surpass countless people's imaginations. After looking at the King of Kings' sword closely, Zhao Fu put it away and went to a kingdom. After asking around about this sword, he was shocked to find just how terrifying the King of Kings' sword was. At the same time, Zhao Fu asked people to bring some information to the women in the Outlander domain. Apart from the Dragon Princess and the others, Zhao Fu had left many women there, including Hu Shan, Niu Luyun, and a group of centaur guards. They were most likely waiting for him there. Zhao Fu had already come to the central domain and naturally would not go back. As such, he told them to come to him while he waited for them in the central domain. Adding on the medicinal pills and heavenly kingdom protection, as well as the precious King of Kings' sword, Zhao Fu felt that he had not obtained much this time. However, all of them were incredibly precious and they made up for the lack of numbers. This was especially so for the King of Kings' sword. If he used its power to deal with Outlanders, it would be invincible, and it was the most precious thing this time. Zhao Fu first went to the flower region, where there were countless types of flowers: red, yellow, green, and black. Tens of thousands of flowers vied with each other, forming a boundless sea of flowers. The air was filled with the fragrance of flowers, and adding on the blue sky, white clouds, and colorful butterflies, this place was as beautiful as a celestial realm. This place could bring out the full effects of the 10,000 flower beauty spring, and Zhao Fu had come here to build the 10,000 flower beauty spring. Zhao Fu first dug out a 100-meter wide and dozens of meters deep pit. The ground and walls were made of jade and there were runes inscribed on them, gathering large amounts of flower power. There were also exquisite statues around the pit. All of the statues were of women, and they were incredibly lifelike. Not only did they look good, but they also protected the 10,000 flower beauty spring. Zhao Fu went to the bottom of the spring and took out the mouth of the spring and placed it at the center. The mouth of the spring gradually sank into the ground, and the runes on the jade stones were all activated, and the flower power in the surroundings flowed into the spring. A clear spring water giving off a dense flower fragrance started to gush out from the ground, and Zhao Fu flew to the surface. The spring water continuously flowed out and filled the surroundings. Yi Er, is it done? Zhao Fu's 12 beautiful madams asked Zhao Fu with a trace of anticipation. As women, they valued the 10,000 flower beauty spring greatly, and they hoped that they could become more beautiful. Moreover, even though Zhao Fu had told them his real name, they still liked to call him Moyi because this name had a special meaning to them. As for the reason, there was no need to explain. Zhao Fu smiled as he replied, "It's done now. Madams, go down and see the effects." The 12 madams smiled and nodded before taking off their clothes and entering the spring. They immediately felt a mystical energy nourishing their bodies, and they happily smiled. The flower fairy stayed by Zhao Fu's side, and Zhao Fu smiled as he brought her into his embrace and asked, "Why don't you go down and try the effects of the 10,000 flower beauty spring?" The flower fairy looked a bit shy as she replied, "As a flower fairy, the spring water's effects are quite weak on me. Also, why didn't you bring back any wondrous flowers this time?" Zhao Fu said apologetically, "I didn't find any wondrous flowers when I went to the Outlander domain. Also, the Heaven Awakened world has 7 wondrous flowers, and each one corresponds to a race. The Outlander race doesn't seem to have any wondrous flowers, so the 8th wondrous flower you mentioned is the wondrous flower of the Outlander race, right?" The flower fairy smiled as she replied, "The Outlander race's wondrous flower is something that almost no one has ever seen before, so many people don't know about it. They think that the heaven-awakened world only has 7 wondrous flowers and not 8. This wondrous flower is called the King God Golden Flower. It's a flower that seems to be made of gold, and it has a very powerful king's power. Also, if you plant it on the ground will turn into gold. Moreover, this power can spread and turn an entire world into gold. Zhao Fu could not help but lightly laugh. To ordinary people, this kind of flower was a priceless treasure. When the time came, they would have an inexhaustible supply of gold. It was like a city of gold in the world. It was something that countless people dreamed of. However, Zhao Fu was not very interested in this. The main reason he collected the wondrous flowers was to help the flower fairy recover her power. If Qin had another celestial, Zhao Fu would be the happiest thing. Following this, Zhao Fu left the flower domain and found a spacious place to put the stage 8 Splendor Knight Silver Dragon Denver. Chapter 1723. If Zhao Fu fused the City Lord seal into it, the stage 8 Splendor Knight Silver Dragon would be more powerful than ordinary stage 9 dragons. It was a pity that the city's stats were continuously weakening, and the City Lord Seal's power had greatly decreased. Otherwise, with the City Lord Seal's power, if it was fused into a Stage 8 dragon, it would be able to challenge Stage 9 elite dragons. Zhao Fu placed the den in his hand, which was the silver dragon statue, and chose to use it. Boom! The statue exploded out with a powerful aura and gave off boundless silver light. It floated up from Zhao Fu's hand and floated in front of Zhao Fu. Countless traces of silver liquid flowed out and formed an octagonal, 3-meter-tall silver stage. The statue floated at the center of the stage, and silver light flashed as a 600-meter-long dragon appeared. It spread its silver wings and gave a massive roar, causing a wild gale to blow. This silver dragon was just like the statue. It had silver-white scales, long and sharp horns, and a pair of black, gem-like eyes. It had a pair of large silver wings, a pair of sharp claws, 6 toes, and a long and slender tail. It gave off an incredibly powerful dragon's might, causing people to feel a chill and their bodies to uncontrollably tremble. Looking at the powerful Splendor Knight Silver Dragon, Zhao Fu smiled. If it could be developed into something like the wyverns, it would be a great force for Qin. Zhao Fu left the matters here to someone else, and did not have to manage them himself. After taking care of these matters, Zhao Fu returned to Qin's palace. Everyone in Qin had long since heard that Zhao Fu had returned, and they all looked delighted because their king, the ruler of the Qin Empire, had returned. The ministers and generals all looked excited but also respectfully waited outside the palace. Zhao Fu put on his black dragon robe, put on his black dragon crown, and sat on his throne. Court, begin. Many of the officials entered the hall and bowed in unison. Long live the Emperor! Long live the Emperor! Zhao Fu gave a trace of a smile as he said, "We've been gone for so long. Has anything big happened in Qin?" The ministers and generals went up and reported what had happened in Qin while Zhao Fu was gone. Zhao Fu left the internal affairs to Li Si, and during this period of time, he had done many things. The first was to hold an imperial examination to select talents from various races to serve Qin. They had also dug a few large rivers to make transportation more convenient, and they had countless tributaries that could be used to irrigate crop. They also encouraged production, and all of the food and vegetables that they grew belonged to them instead of Great Qin. This encouraged the residents to grow more food. Now that the production attribute had disappeared, food became the most important issue for a kingdom. Of course, Great Qin collected some taxes. This was the same in other areas. They strengthened the commoners and the various professions. They also encouraged the commoners to interact with the various industries. They also encouraged the commoners to communicate. They also encouraged the commoners to trade. There were also representatives from various regions who gathered together to ask the imperial court all sorts of questions and express the thoughts of the commoners. Great Qin naturally placed great importance on this, and they had good solutions to these problems. This was all thanks to Li Si and the various ministers and generals' efforts, and Zhao Fu gave them appropriate praise and rewards. There were also a few big movements in the military. During the time that Zhao Fu had been away, no kingdoms had attacked. Whether it was the Devil Horn Empire or the Second Wind God Empire, they had both done their best to develop their factions and stabilize their rule. They had also started a few battles against the outside world, and they were now kingdoms with 9 worlds. They were only one away from becoming a royal kingdom. Now, the population and military strength of these 2 kingdoms had greatly increased, and their strength had become incredibly terrifying, causing the surrounding kingdoms to feel quite afraid. However, even though Zhao Fu was not in Qin, Zhao Fu did not fall behind them. Under Bai Qi's leadership, they had conquered a world. Because Zhao Fu understood that going to the Outlander domain would take a long time, he gave Bai Qi and Li Si great authority. They could take care of all matters for Zhao Fu and make all decisions. They could be said to be below only one person in Qin and above tens of thousands of people. Of course, it was mainly because Zhao Fu trusted them the most that he had given them such great authority. Bai Qi saw that the 2 kingdoms were rapidly developing, and Qin had finished digesting the worlds that they had conquered. He gathered all of the ministers and generals to discuss and made the decision to attack another world. Bai Qi was the one to carry out the decision. With Qin's current strength, as long as they did not ally together and the other 2 kingdoms did not participate, they would be able to easily destroy a world. The world that Qin had destroyed was called the Sante world. It was a world with many mountains, making it very difficult to move around. Many large mountains blocked the way and were quite difficult to cross. It had taken Qin quite a bit of effort to conquer it. The people living in that world were called the Sante people. They were ordinary humans with Western faces and tall figures. Because they lived in the mountains and often dealt with wild beasts, they were all quite ferocious. When Qin had invaded the Sante world, the Sante people had taken advantage of their familiarity with the geography and tried to stop Qin's invasion. Faced with such complicated terrain and the Sante people's obstruction, it would not have been easy to conquer the Sante world with ordinary soldiers. They would have had to spend some time and effort, and they would have suffered more losses. However, Qin did not use ordinary soldiers to attack. Instead, he directly attacked the Beast Army and Masanori Hanno and the Devil Army. With their abilities, the complicated terrain did not affect them much. Instead, it was beneficial to them. This was the effect of having many different types of soldiers. The beasts and devils were even more ferocious and evil than ordinary Qin's soldiers. Qin would not stop them, and they had caused a few terrifying massacres. The beasts were fine, as they only fed on humans. Apart from looking bloody and cruel and leaving behind some corpses, the dead did not feel much pain. However, the devils were obviously much more twisted and perverted. The devils also fed on humans. Some liked to peel off the skin and eat the bloody flesh. Some liked to cut open a person's stomach and dig out the organs. Some liked to eat the eyes. They would dig out a person's eyes and eat them, then cut them into pieces. Furthermore, no one was spared. When a group of monsters attacked a village or a city, not a single person would be spared. There would not be any living beings left. The villages would become dead villages, and the cities would become dead cities. Chapter 1724. The beasts and devils had slaughtered countless people, causing the Shantae people to feel both terrified and furious. They could not stop them at all, and in the end, Qin was able to successfully conquer the Shantae world. They had killed 5 billion or so people in the Shantae world and taken in 23 billion or so people, causing 8 billion or so people to escape. They had also obtained 60,000 cities and countless resources, many of which were quite good. The first was that there were a lot of spirit medicines, such as ginseng and lingji mushrooms. Even though they weren't very useful to Zhao Fu, they were quite useful to ordinary people. There were also mountain rocks, which were treasures that were birthed by mountains. They had powerful gravity and could be used as protective items or as offensive items, and they could cause great damage. Qin had lost hundreds of millions of cities, which was quite small. Qin could accept this loss. Adding on their original population and cities, they now had 465 billion people and 720,000 cities, causing Qin's foundation to become a bit stronger. Now, there were 3 empires with 9 worlds, and they were 1 world away from becoming royal kingdoms. When that time came, there would be 3 more royal kingdoms. Just thinking about it made people feel quite terrified. So many royal kingdoms had suddenly appeared. This caused the surrounding worlds to fall into panic. Facing Qin, the Devil Horn Empire, and the Second Wind God Empire, they quickly formed an alliance and chose to resist Qin's 3 factions. In the end, 30 or so worlds joined in. The alliance formed from 30 or so worlds was incredibly terrifying, and it greatly surpassed any one of Qin's 3 factions. It could suppress all 3 factions at the same time. Because of this alliance, Qin, the Devil Horn Empire, and the Second Wind God Empire became much more cautious. If this alliance went all out, it could destroy them. At the same time, this forced the 3 factions to change their original plan. They wanted to conquer another world and level it up to a royal kingdom before attacking other factions. Now, the alliance had gathered countless armies to defend the 3 factions, making it impossible for them to conquer another world. The 3 factions also sent many soldiers to defend in case the alliance suddenly attacked. This was the current situation in this place. Zhao Fu listened attentively from his throne and understood Qin's situation. He praised the generals who had fought and gave them rewards. As for the alliance, they could only put it aside for now. With Qin's current strength, he could not resist the alliance head-on, as that would be disadvantageous to Qin. They could only wait for an opportunity to conquer another world and become a royal kingdom. After hearing about Qin's situation, Zhao Fu decided to head to the Chaos World and the Underworld to understand the situation there. At that moment, the Underworld Yellow Springs Kingdom sent news that the surrounding factions were attacking the Yellow Springs Kingdom. The situation was quite dangerous, and the Yellow Springs Kingdom had requested reinforcements from Qin. A trace of a smile appeared on Zhao Fu's face. He could take this opportunity to head over and bring Great Qin's 2 billion soldiers to the underworld. Seeing that Zhao Fu had returned, the Yellow Springs 12 queens all smiled and flirtatiously surrounded Zhao Fu's side. "Husband, you're finally back. You don't know how much we've missed you. You'll have to make it up to us later." These words caused many of the palace maids to feel quite surprised. Not only did the Yellow Springs Empress have peerless looks, but they were also incredibly lofty and could not be profaned. They were usually incredibly cold, and everyone had to be careful around them. In front of Zhao Fu, the 12 dignified empresses had become 12 sluts waiting at home for a man. Zhao Fu smiled as he hugged Huang Quanling and said, "I'll have a good taste of you later. Tell me about the Yellow Springs Kingdom situation, as well as information about the other factions attacking the Yellow Springs Kingdom." Following this, the women started to talk about the Yellow Springs Kingdom's development and the problems they were facing. The Yellow Springs Kingdom was at the boundary of the underworld, and the factions here were not very powerful. With Qin's help, the Yellow Springs Kingdom had developed incredibly quickly. It was now as big as 2 worlds, and its population had reached 40 billion or so, which was quite shocking. An ordinary faction would not be able to develop so quickly without decades of development. The Yellow Springs Kingdom's rapid expansion caused the surrounding factions to feel threatened, and under the leadership of a nearby great kingdom, they started a war against the Yellow Springs Kingdom. The Yellow Springs Kingdom was not very weak, and it had 4 billion soldiers. They were all high-grade soldiers with Yellow Springs power and had used Yellow Springs water, so they were much more powerful than ordinary soldiers. What was worth mentioning was that the Yellow Springs Kingdom soldiers were all wearing yellow armor. Adding on the fact that they had obtained Yellow Springs power, Their eyes had also become yellow, making them look like terrifying ghost soldiers that had walked out of the Yellow Springs. Yellow was the most noble color in the Yellow Springs kingdom, and the 12 empresses all had yellow pupils and wore golden palace dresses, making them look incredibly noble. On the other hand, Qin's color was black. The forces attacking the Netherworld Kingdom this time were mainly made up of the surrounding ghost kingdoms of various sizes. 4 of them were the most powerful: the Ghost Tiger Kingdom, the Mountain Charm Kingdom, the Great Kingdom, and the Zhuoxian Kingdom. Each of them had a population of 8 billion and a military force of more than 1 billion. If the surrounding ghost kingdoms of various sizes were added, their military force would reach 8 billion. It seemed that Zhao Fu had not brought enough soldiers this time. The Yellow Springs Kingdom had 4 billion soldiers and Qin's 2 billion soldiers, which was 6 billion soldiers in total. The enemy side had 2 billion more soldiers than Qin. Zhao Fu could not bring too many soldiers because Qin's soldiers were tied down in many areas, and the primal chaos world required a large number of soldiers to defend. However, even though there were less than 2 billion soldiers, with Qin's foundation, they should be able to resist. Moreover, the enemy seemed to have discussed this beforehand, and they attacked the Yellow Springs Kingdom from 4 directions. Zhao Fu split the Qin's soldiers into 4 teams, each with 500 million soldiers, and they supported the 4 directions of the Yellow Springs Kingdom. Zhao Fu also went to the most dangerous direction, which was the west. The Ghost Tiger Kingdom led the attack against the Yellow Springs Kingdom, and they had around 2 billion soldiers, while the Yellow Springs Kingdom only had 1 billion defending soldiers. The Ghost Tiger Kingdom's full-scale attack caused the Yellow Springs Kingdom to fall into a crisis. However, with the soldiers that Zhao Fu had brought, they quickly turned the situation around and successfully defended against the Ghost Tiger Kingdom's attack. Chapter 1725. Following this, news came from the other 3 directions that each side had roughly 500 million reinforcements and had successfully stopped their attacks. This forced the factions in the 4 directions to temporarily stop attacking. Zhao Fu was thinking about how to defeat them. Even though Zhao Fu had the power of 9 worlds and could use his nation armament, he could not stop billions of soldiers by himself. As such, it was impossible for Zhao Fu to charge in by himself and insta-kill everyone. That was simply impossible. This time, Zhao Fu did not bring any beasts and only brought some ordinary Qin soldiers. There was also the war god's fury. Zhao Fu had fused the earth soul into it, and it could release terrifying destructive power. However, it was as big as a region and could not be brought into the underworld or other worlds, so it could only be used in the Heaven Awaken world. Of course, since he did not bring any beasts, Zhao Fu brought some other things, as well as a method that he had not used yet. Right now, he was baiting the other side to attack before using those methods. Because of the urgency of the situation, Qin's soldiers had not been prepared, so they had only repelled the attackers and had not used those methods. Zhao Fu waited for an entire day, but the enemies from the 4 directions did not attack at all. The situation seemed to have reached a stalemate, making Zhao Fu feel quite disappointed. He had thought that the other side would come and then deal with them. Now, the factions in the 4 directions had gathered together and were discussing how to deal with the Yellow Springs Kingdom. A skinny and weak-looking elder looked at everyone and said carefully, "The Yellow Springs Kingdom has received powerful support and is only 500 million soldiers away from us in each direction. However, they have the advantage of defending, so we can't attack at all. How about we stop attacking?" A well-built man resolutely opposed. "How long has it been since the Yellow Springs Kingdom appeared? In just a few months, it has become a superpower that controls 2 worlds and has 40 billion or so people. If we don't destroy it now, we'll be the ones dying in the future." A scholarly-looking young man sighed as he said, "I wonder what the Yellow Springs Kingdom's background is. It's developing so quickly that it's quite terrifying. Also, we've surrounded them in all directions. Where did the reinforcements come from? A cold-looking woman said, I heard that it's related to the heaven-awakened world. Those soldiers seem to be from the human race, not the death race. It's possible that there's a terrifying human race kingdom secretly supporting the Yellow Springs kingdom, which is why it has developed so quickly. A black-clothed middle-aged man said angrily, A human dares to stretch his hand into our underworld. He's simply too bold. We're in a hurry to gather more death race people to destroy him. The scholarly man replied, Difficult. The others have nothing to lose, so why would they join in? Also, since we know that the Yellow Springs Kingdom has the support of a large country, we really can't destroy the Yellow Springs Kingdom. Let's think about how to defend. The skinny and weak-looking elder gave a trace of a smile as he said, That's what I meant. Since we can't destroy them, we'll set up a defensive zone to defend against the Yellow Springs Kingdom's attacks and restrict their development. Hearing this, everyone else thought for a moment before nodding. In order to attract the enemy's attack, Zhao Fu's side had opened up the city walls, but they found that the enemy still did not move. After thinking about it, Zhao Fu decided to withdraw his army and set up a second defensive wall. This was quite dangerous, as it was equivalent to giving up on a layer of defense. If they did not deal with it well, the enemy might break through. Even though this was dangerous, Zhao Fu was confident that he could repel the enemy, which would be quite beneficial to Zhao Fu's side. The Allied side was quite tempted by the Yellow Springs Kingdom's actions, and they wanted to lead their army to attack. Perhaps they could break through the Yellow Springs Kingdom's defenses and destroy it in one fell swoop. They did not know who the leader of the Yellow Springs Kingdom was, and they were quite daring to use such a tactic. They were completely provoking them. Some people could not help but want to lead their army in, but others stopped them. This was evidently a massive trap, and once they entered, they would not be able to return. The Allied side had guessed that the Yellow Springs Kingdom was supported by a large kingdom, and without enough confidence, they would not do such a stupid thing. As such, they did not attack. Instead, they chose the plan that they had discussed before and started to set up defensive barriers nearby, focusing on defense. Zhao Fu felt quite surprised. They had not taken the bait yet. The other side was quite resolute. Looking at the defensive barriers, Zhao Fu quickly understood their goal, and he did not hesitate to gather his army and prepare to attack. If they did not attack now, once they finished setting up their defenses, it would be even more difficult to attack, and they would suffer great losses. It was not suitable for 1.5 billion soldiers to attack an army of 2 billion or so, so Zhao Fu took out another 200 million soldiers from the other three sides. In total, they had 2.1 billion soldiers, and they were not any weaker than the other side. They just had to focus on defending the other three sides. Kill! The countless soldiers loudly roared and gave off powerful auras as they flooded out of the defensive walls. They gave off a destructive power, and it was as if nothing could stop this flood. The Allied side was quite startled. They had never thought that the Yellow Springs Kingdom would dare to attack even if they did not take the initiative. However, the situation was quite advantageous to them, and the Allied side gave a trace of savage smiles. Since the other side was seeking death, they could not blame them. Soon, the Allied side formed a defensive formation and waited for the Yellow Springs Kingdom's soldiers to charge up before launching a ferocious attack. Boom! 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 Massive sounds of the air being torn could be heard as terrifying arrows shot out from the Yellow Springs Kingdom's army, seeming to explode the sky. They drew out sharp arcs in the sky as they shot towards the Allied side's army. Under that massive and sharp aura, countless people's hairs stood on end and their bodies uncontrollably trembled. The general was greatly startled and immediately yelled, "Hurry up and defend!" They had formed a defensive formation, so they did not panic. The shield-bearers at the front raised their shields and exploded out with a powerful aura as a gray energy barrier appeared. Looking at this massive gray energy barrier, everyone let out a sigh of relief and felt that it would be able to block this attack. Bang! 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 Massive sounds rang out as the wave of light at the very front slammed into the defensive barrier, causing sharp light to shoot out and massive gales to spread out. Countless cracks appeared on the defensive barrier. Chapter 17:26. Bang! Bang! The powerful streams of light behind them carried terrifying power as they pierced through the gray energy barrier. The huge gray energy barrier then completely shattered, and the streams of light shot into the crowd, slicing apart countless people's bodies. Blood flew everywhere, and dismembered corpses flew everywhere. Countless howls sounded out, and the scene was incredibly bloody and cruel. As the rays of light descended, the area in front of the army became a land of corpses. Blood dyed the ground red, and there was a dense stench of blood. Countless people looked terrified. Just what kind of arrows were these? How could they have such destructive power? These were Qin's talisman arrows. Because of the limitations of talisman stones, Qin rarely used talisman arrows. However, he had always been prepared, and he had obtained many talisman stones from conquering the Sante world. This time, Zhao Fu had brought them. However, things were not over yet. The desolate god led the 12 women in blood-red clothes and appeared in the sky. The desolate god gave a trace of a cold smile as she said to the 12 women behind her, "You can begin. Let them see how powerful we are. Don't let that bastard of ours look down on us." The 12 women in blood-red clothes nodded and stretched out a hand, causing a powerful aura to explode out. Countless runes appeared on their outstretched hands as 12 blood-red figures appeared behind them, giving off intense blood-red light. They turned into blood-red afterimages and landed on the corpses in front of the enemy army. The 12 figures landed on the ground, which were 12 2-meter-wide orbs of blood. These 12 orbs of blood floated a few centimeters above the ground and exploded out with a formless suction force, causing the blood in the surroundings to flood towards them. The Allied side quickly understood the danger and gave the order to attack the orbs of blood. Swish, 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 arrows quickly shot out, descending like raindrops. However, the arrows pierced through the orbs of blood and did not affect them at all. Even when the arrows hit the gathered blood, they were not affected at all, and the blood continued to flood towards them. The blood continuously gathered, forming 12 massive orbs of blood. That wave of talisman arrows had caused the deaths of tens of millions of people, and those orbs of blood had been formed from tens of millions of people's blood. Boom! 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 The massive blood-red orbs lined up and shot out countless blood-red tentacles, all of which contained immense power. They pierced through soldiers' chests, and some even pierced through dozens of soldiers' chests. The soldiers immediately died. Their bodies quickly lost moisture and turned into dried corpses. All of the blood in their bodies was sucked away by the tentacles, and it was unknown how many people died in an instant. The scene was extremely terrifying. The Allied side was greatly shocked. They had never thought that the blood orbs would have such terrifying power, and they did not hold back. Massive roars sounded out as formations were activated. Countless traces of Yin Qi gathered, forming 1,000-meter-long ghost tigers. There were hundreds of them, and they gave off powerful auras as they charged at the massive orb of blood. Boom, boom, boom. The orb of blood controlled countless tentacles, which gave off immense power as they grabbed towards the hundreds of ghost tiger beasts incredibly quickly. Some of the ghost tigers brandished their claws, bringing with them terrifying sharp blades that slashed at the countless blood-red tentacles. Some of them let out deafening roars, and the terrifying sound waves spread out, blasting apart the countless blood-red tentacles. Swish, swish, swish. However, the blood-red tentacles that had been sliced off and shattered turned into blood-red swords that gave off terrifying power as they shot towards the ghost tigers, sending out blood-red sword light. Roar, roar, roar. Massive roars of pain sounded out as the ghost tigers were pierced by countless blood-red swords, and their bodies turned into ghostly qi and dissipated. However, some of the ghost tigers spewed out gray flames, burning many of the blood-red tentacles. Blood god devils were immune to physical attacks, but they were not very effective against energy attack. Roar, roar, roar! Massive ghost tigers were once again condensed, and they gave off massive roars as ghostly flames erupted around their bodies, and they charged at the orbs of blood. Even though the ghostly flames were effective against the orbs of blood were not afraid, and they continued to shoot out countless tentacles to attack the countless ghost tigers. The tips of the tentacles were crystallized, and they could cause massive wounds. The orbs of blood could also use the tentacles to attack the soldiers and replenish their blood. Swish, 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 sword hums once again sounded out as Qin's side once again shot out countless rays of light. The rays of light gave off immense power as they once again tore apart countless people's bodies, causing countless howls to sound out as blood dyed the ground red. By now, the Allied side's defensive formation had been completely destroyed, and after suffering the attacks from the talisman arrows and blood-red tentacles, the scene became quite chaotic. Boom! At that moment, Qin's soldiers were like massive waves as they slammed into the Allied army, resulting in massive sounds as the battle officially began. A Qin soldier held a spear and vigorously pierced through a soldier's throat. A Qin soldier rushed up and vigorously swung his saber, chopping off a soldier's head. A Qin soldier vigorously swung his axe, splitting a soldier's body in half. A Qin soldier kicked a person flying and stabbed a sword into another person's chest. A Qin soldier held a spear and pierced through another person's head, and a Qin soldier smashed another person flying with a hammer. The Allied army side was quite chaotic, and after being attacked 3 times, their morale was quite low, so they hurriedly defended. After hearing that the Yellow Springs Kingdom had taken the initiative to attack, the other 3 sides simultaneously attacked the Yellow Springs Kingdom, and their attacks were incredibly ferocious. However, the 3 sides had long since made preparations and were waiting for the Allied army to attack. There were also some talisman arrows from the other 3 sides, but there were not as many as Zhao Fu's side. After all, Zhao Fu's side was mainly attacking, so they needed a large number of talisman arrows to be effective. However, even though there were not many talisman arrows, they were still very effective. The Allied army gave off a terrifying aura as they flooded towards the defensive wall. A single wave of talisman arrows could kill many people and weaken their momentum. Bang! 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 Massive explosions sounded out as Qin's side once again threw out many destruction crystals, resulting in massive explosions. Although there were not many of them, they still caused some chaos among the enemy army. The Allied armies on the 3 sides also condensed many powerful ghosts and charged towards the defensive walls. The Yellow Springs Kingdom soldiers gave off terrifying auras as their bodies gave off countless traces of yellow aura, and they formed Yellow Springs beasts to deal with the ghost beasts. Chapter 1727. By now, the Allied army had reached the bottom of the city walls and started to attack. They used all sorts of methods to scale the city walls, such as ladders, flying chains, and some people directly jumped over the city walls. The Yellow Springs Kingdom's side defended with all of their strength, continuously using arrows and heavy objects to attack, and they poured down barrels of Yellow Springs water. The Yellow Springs water was the water of the Yellow Springs River, and it was not harmful to the Yellow Springs Kingdom soldiers. However, it was harmful to others, as it could contaminate their bodies and equipment. However, this was only ordinary Yellow Springs water, and its effects were not very powerful. It would not cause anyone's body to be contaminated by the Yellow Springs water and die, and they could use their power to resist. This was the Yellow Springs Kingdom's goal, which was to exhaust a portion of their strength. When they attacked the city walls, they would have to defend against the Yellow Springs water and the Yellow Springs soldiers' attacks, reducing their battle strength. The Yellow Springs soldiers' main job was to defend, and each side had 3 billion soldiers. Adding on their various preparations, they should be able to defend. Moreover, they dragged out the allied army and did not allow them to reinforce the Ghost Tiger Kingdom's side. Soon, the two sides started to fight, and the sounds of weapons continuously clashing could be heard. Cries continuously sounded out, and blood flew everywhere as people fell. The battle was quite intense. Even though the other side had more people, the Yellow Spring soldiers and Qin soldiers were much stronger than the other side. It seemed that the Yellow Spring soldiers had an advantage. Back at the Ghost Tiger Kingdom's side, the battle between the two sides was incredibly intense, and the allied army was at a disadvantage. The previous waves of attacks had caused the front lines to fall into chaos, and they were unable to effectively defend against the Qin soldiers' attack. The desolate god raised a hand, and a powerful aura exploded out from its body. Countless traces of blood-red chi rose into the sky, forming blood-red clouds that gave off powerful auras. A mite spread out, and blood-red light shot out from the clouds. The blood-red light covered the Qin soldiers' bodies, and the Qin soldiers felt a wave of power enter their bodies. Their bodies seemed to become slightly stronger, and their blood became hotter, making them want to fight. The desolate god's blessing caused the Qin soldiers to become even more ferocious, and they attacked the allied army, causing the allied army to be at a disadvantage. When Zhao Fu saw that the allied army was completely pinned down, a trace of a smile appeared on his face, and his body disappeared. All of the king's expressions became quite grim. If this battle continued like this, they would definitely lose. However, there was nothing they could do to change things. Not only were the enemy's soldiers powerful, but they also had many tricks up their sleeve. Ah! A howl sounded out as everyone felt incredibly shocked. They turned and saw a black-cloaked figure appear behind a king and stab through his chest. Blood leaked out of that king's mouth, and his gaze dimmed as he fell to the ground, unable to get up. Even though everyone did not know who Zhao Fu was, waves of nation armaments power exploded out, causing countless terrifying auras to spread out and create wild gales that swept out in all directions. This person was only a single person and dared to come here, and he only had great Earth Realm cultivation. Everyone coldly laughed. This person was simply seeking death. This person was most likely an important mission for the Yellow Springs Kingdom, so the kings did not think too much and gave off terrifying auras as they charged at Zhao Fu. Looking at the charging kings, Zhao Fu gave a trace of a cold smile as he exploded out with his nation armament's power. A massive black aura flame erupted around his body, and a powerful gale blew out, causing the heavens and earth to dim. Xing! Zhao Fu slashed out, sending out an enormous blood-red sword light with terrifying power. It brought with it a blood-red sword wind as it slashed apart 5 or 6 kings' bodies, causing blood to fly everywhere. The kings were greatly startled, and their bodies froze as they looked at Zhao Fu in terror. They had never thought that Zhao Fu's power would be so terrifying. Now, Zhao Fu was using his nation armament's power, while Qin's nation armament had the power of 9 worlds, and it was only one away from becoming a royal kingdom. It was not something that these small kings could defend against. Seeing them standing there in a daze, Zhao Fu did not hold back. He rushed up and slashed out with his sword, sending out a sharp sword arc that seemed to tear apart the air. A few people's heads fell off, and blood spurted out from their neck. Everyone quickly came to their senses. This person was a monster, and they immediately ran to the side. Zhao Fu gave a cold smile and started to chase after the kings. Some soldiers rushed up, wanting to protect their kings, but they were easily chopped into pieces by Zhao Fu. Moreover, the allied army was being suppressed by Qin. They were already at a disadvantage, and now that their kings had died, they lost even more morale. Some people started to run, and once someone started to run, more and more people started to run. In the end, the front lines completely collapsed. Zhao Fu chased after the kings in the sky, while Qin's soldiers chased after the allied army on the ground. In this battle, Qin had won. However, Zhao Fu did not stop there and ordered his people to charge towards where those factions were. After hearing about the western side's defeat, the allied factions immediately retreated. They were unable to take down the defensive walls and had already suffered great losses. If they were attacked from two sides, they would also suffer a crushing defeat. A few days later, Zhao Fu smiled as he looked at the 200 or so nation armaments in front of him. Some of these nation armaments had been obtained from destroying other kingdoms, and some had been obtained from destroying the Western kingdoms and factions. These nation armaments all had ghost-type attributes and received underworld fate. They were not suitable for use in the Heaven Awaken world, or else they could be used to expand the sealing heaven suppressing earth formation. They could not waste so many nation armaments, so Zhao Fu planned to set up a subformation here. After all, the underworld's Yellow Springs kingdom was a part of Qin and could not be excluded. Soon, Zhao Fu ordered people to build towers within the Yellow Springs kingdom's territory, forming the sealing heaven suppressing earth formation. This formation could not be used yet, and it required the main formation to split off a portion of its power to activate this subformation. Zhao Fu stood within the Yellow Springs Kingdom's sky-reaching tower and started to split the main magic formation's power. In the Heaven Awaken world, a massive magic formation appeared on Great Qin's territory, and heaven and earth power continuously gathered as a massive wave of power seeped into the ground. Boom! A powerful pillar of light descended from the sky and landed within the tower. A formless energy spread out, and the entire magic formation was activated. Countless Death Race's nation armaments gave off intense light as massive amounts of underworld power madly gathered, causing the heavens and earth to dim and clouds to swirl. Zhao Fu stood in front of the magic formation at the top of the tower, and the image of a book gradually appeared. This was a subformation and did not require a core nation armament. As the core nation armament, the Book of God, would also split off a portion here. At that moment, massive amounts of underworld power flowed into the image of the book, causing it to give off a terrifying aura. It continuously became corporeal and became a gray book. What shocked Zhao Fu was that the book's name was Book of the Earth. Chapter 1728. Zhao Fu felt quite shocked. He had never thought that such a thing would happen, and he looked at the Earth Book floating in front of him. The Earth Book's cover had become stone, and there were many ghosts carved on it. There was a rectangular frame at the center with the words Earth Book written on it. It was twice as big as a normal book and was 3 centimeters thick. Zhao Fu could not help but feel curious and went up to look at the Earth Book stat. Countless names flowed out and floated around him, giving off a steady light. Yellow Springs Queen. Yellow Springs Spirit. Yellow Springs Queen. Qin Yeyuan. Yellow Springs Queen. Li Ya. Yellow Springs Queen. Lu Ye. Yellow Springs Queen. Yu Qin. Yellow Springs Queen. Yen Yen. Zhao Fu looked at these names and found that the top ones were the 12 Yellow Springs Queens. He then looked at the others and found that everyone who belonged to the Yellow Springs Kingdom had a name, no matter who it was. Moreover, the Earth Book could control everything in the Yellow Springs Kingdom, such as heaven and earth power, mountain power, and every blade of grass and tree. The Earth Book had become something like a world's consciousness. After looking at the Earth Book's information, Zhao Fu immediately returned to the Heaven Awaken world and went to the tower. The Book of God, or rather the human book, had greatly changed. The cover had become green jade, and there was a scene of a prosperous world engraved on it. There was a rectangular frame at the center with the words Human Book written on it. It was the same size and thickness as the Earth Book, but the light and aura it gave off were much more powerful than the Earth Book's. Zhao Fu guessed that this was most likely because of the world he controlled. Qin controlled 9 worlds in the Heaven Awaken world, while the underworld only had 2 worlds. Moreover, the human book was the main body, while the Earth Book was a split product. Zhao Fu went up and looked at the human book. The human book's effects were the same as the Earth Book, and it recorded the names of all sorts of people. It could also control heaven and earth power. Now that Zhao Fu had finished reading the Human Book and Earth Book, this was what they were used for. As the core item of the sealing heaven suppressing Earth Book, they would most likely become the most important item in controlling a world. In fact, when Zhao Fu had chosen the Book of God as the core item, it was because of its uniqueness. Perhaps it had other abilities. Now that it had become the Book of Man and the Book of Earth, it was faintly predictable. There was also the Earth Book and the Human Book. Aside from Zhao Fu, there was only one other person who could control them, and that was the Spirit Maiden, who had once been the will of Earth. Aside from her, there was no one else who could control the two books. After looking at the Earth Book and Human Book stats, Zhao Fu returned to the Yellow Springs Kingdom. Because things had not been resolved yet, the Yellow Springs Kingdom had only destroyed the factions in the west and had not destroyed the factions in the east, south, and north. This time, after destroying the western factions, they had gained quite a lot. There were more than 10 billion people, as well as countless resources and cities. Of course, there were also many beauties, as well as the queens and princesses. They were definitely necessary because they could be used to refine nation armament. Now that these women had been brought to Qin, they provided a large amount of Phoenix Chi for the Emperor Phoenix statue. The Emperor Phoenix statue's power was now extremely terrifying, and it was no weaker than a nation armament's power. The factions in the other three directions fell into terror. Now that the Yellow Springs Kingdom had destroyed many factions in the west, it had become much more powerful, while they had fallen greatly. This made them the weaker side. They knew that the Yellow Springs Kingdom would soon act against them, so they quickly constructed defensive lines and prepared to defend against the Yellow Springs Kingdom's invasion. Zhao Fu wanted to take down all of the factions in the other three directions at once, but he found that he could not take them all at once. Now that they had destroyed many factions in the west, they had obtained 10 billion or so people, which was a quarter of their original population. If they rebelled, the consequences would be quite severe. Moreover, they had not truly controlled a large portion of the western side's territory, and there were many hidden dangers. As such, they gave up on attacking the factions in the other three directions and focused on stabilizing their rule. After dealing with the people and regions, they would make a move against them. Husband, now that you've taken care of things, shouldn't you be spoiling us? The 12 Yellow Springs Empresses looked at Zhao Fu in anticipation. Zhao Fu lightly laughed. He did not have much to do right now, and he could leave stabilizing the unity to the other civil ministers. Zhao Fu hugged the empresses and entered the palace and started to do it with them. After not doing it with Zhao Fu in a long time, they all felt incredibly thirsty, and they lewdly cried out like prostitutes. Afterwards, Zhao Fu put on his clothes, leaving behind a group of breathless beauties, whose faces were red and faces were breathless. Zhao Fu once again came to the primal chaos world, and after hearing that Zhao Fu had come to Great Qin, everyone came before Zhao Fu. Aracena lightly harumphed, "You still remember to come back?" Zhao Fu lightly laughed as he hugged her and asked, "How has the development in the primal chaos world been? Has anything major happened?" Aracena's expression softened and became slightly flirtatious as she said, "We'll tell you in detail on the bed." The women's faces became slightly red and they looked at Zhao Fu in anticipation. They had been separated from Zhao Fu for a long time, and they desperately needed Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu smiled and nodded. After satisfying the women, he hugged Aracena and Bai Shihan and smiled as he said, "Can you tell me now?" Aracena's face was red and she gave a satisfied smile as she started to tell Zhao Fu about the Great Qin territory. The Great Qin territory's development was not as fast as it had been in the underworld, and it had encountered many obstacles. After all, Great Qin was an outsider who had come to another world, and all creatures in that world were enemies. Most importantly, these creatures could not be subdued and could only be killed. They could not devour factions to grow, so their development was quite slow and their strength did not increase much. The only useful things were the various items they obtained. The Great Qin territory now controlled about 1/3 of an ordinary world. The danger zones around it had been cleared out and they had obtained large amounts of materials and resources. There were also many dens, and they now had 3,000 insect den wyverns. However, Qin also faced even more powerful enemies, which came from 4 directions. They restricted Qin's development, making it so that Qin could not take a step further. First was the east, which was also the most dangerous side. This was because there were many chaotic races living there, numbering in the tens of millions and controlling more than 10 billion insects. Chapter 1729. Moreover, they were quite intelligent and were different from the brainless insects. The Chaos race had also discovered Qin's existence, but they understood that Qin City was not ordinary, so they did not directly attack. Next was the northern side, where there were a large number of beast dens. They were shaped like cows but had large mouths and were filled with fangs. They looked quite terrifying and there were 6 billion or so of them. These terror cows were large creatures and had powerful bodies. They had great destructive power and were even more difficult to deal with than ordinary insects. Once they went berserk and charged at Qin, it would be difficult for Qin to stop them. In the south, there lived a group of chaos creatures that looked like aquatic creatures. They looked like ribbonfish, had long, flat bodies, only one blue eye and a mouth full of teeth. They could swim in the sky, almost as if they were in the water. There were 5 billion of them, and because they could fly, they were quite difficult to deal with. Finally, there was the western side, which was quite simple. There was a large group of insects, and there were 5 billion of them. They were shaped like cockroaches and were dark red. However, they could not fly and could only crawl on the ground. However, they were still quite fast. Zhao Fu felt quite troubled. In the Heaven-Awakened world, Qin had to face the Devil Horn Empire, the Second Aeolian Empire, and the Alliance. There were still 3 other enemies in the underworld that he had not gotten rid of yet, so he could not spare any soldiers. Right now, Zhao Fu could only tell Qin City not to expand too quickly and slow down its development. Even if they expanded, they would only gain more domains and resources and would not have any substantial increase in battle power. There was also the blood demon snake mosquitoes, which was quite delightful. There were already a few million of them, and they were stage 3 creatures. Being able to nurture a few million of them so quickly meant that there would be at least tens of millions of them in a year. That speed was countless times faster than going from rank 1 to rank 3. Furthermore, the blood devil snake mosquitoes didn't just rely on their nests to respawn, they could also reproduce. The mosquitoes' growth rate and reproduction rate were both shocking. Zhao Fu felt quite delighted. When the time came, Qin City would have a large group of insects to help Qin conquer the world. Now, Qin City mainly focused on defense and started to construct defensive measures to defend against the dangers from all sides. After understanding the situation in the Chaos world, Zhao Fu once again returned to the Heaven-Awakened world. Following this, Zhao Fu decided to do something, which was to increase the number of people in sword obsession. The Emperor-killing sword could be upgraded long ago, but Zhao Fu did not have time to capture those sword cultivators. There were too many people this time, and he needed 100,000 sword cultivators with high talent. These sword obsession were extremely overpowered. No matter how you killed them, you couldn't kill them. The previous 10,000 sword obsession were even stronger than 1,000,000 soldiers. Sword demons in sword obsession were quite powerful and could not be killed. Even 10,000 sword demons were more powerful than 1,000,000 soldiers. Zhao Fu began to prepare. Zhao Fu clearly remembered what had happened in the past. The anger in his heart had yet to subside. After so long, it was time to collect some interest. At that moment, an unimaginably massive world, giving off a terrifying might, slowly moved towards the Heaven-Awakened world. Even space was unable to withstand that power and continuously twisted. The heaven-awakened world automatically gave off a rainbow-colored light, which turned into countless barriers that blocked in front of him. That world gave off a strange blood-red light and gave off terrifying power as it slammed into the heaven-awakened world. Boom! A shocking explosion sounded out throughout the entire world. Even the godly spirit world and underworld heard this massive sound. Moreover, the entire heaven-awakened world violently trembled as countless boulders tumbled down and leaves fell like rain. Ripples appeared on the water's surface, and some buildings even collapsed. Birds flew into the sky in terror, and countless beasts ran away in panic. The heavens and earth became chaotic as all sorts of auras flew about. An extremely dangerous aura instantly covered the entire world, and countless people felt as if they had fallen into icy water and could not help but tremble. The trembling continued for an hour or so before stopping. Zhao Fu, who had been preparing, looked quite shocked, not knowing what had happened. Why was the entire world shaking? Moreover, the aura that it gave off was simply too terrifying. Zhao Fu, who was feeling quite confused, immediately received a series of system announcements. System announcement. The alchemy battlefield has been opened. System announcement. The battlefield gate has been opened. System announcement. Factions that have reached the dukedom kingdom level can enter the alchemy battlefield or the chaos battlefield through the battlefield gate. System announcement. After entering the chaos battlefield, you can obtain points by killing outer world creatures, which can be used to exchange for items. System announcement. The types of rewards have been updated. System announcement. The maximum level of rewards has been increased. System announcement. The number of rewards has been increased. System announcement. Spirit chi has been weakened, region power has been weakened, world power has been weakened, and fate has been affected. Warning! Every dukedom kingdom level faction must obtain a certain number of points every month. If they do not meet the requirements, they will be sent out. If they do not meet the requirements many times, their kingdom will be revoked, and their entire royal family will suffer a backlash from the heaven and earth power. Warning! Infighting is prohibited in the battlefield, and anyone who violates this will be severely punished. If it is too serious, they will be killed. Warning! Anyone who defected to the enemy and sold out their world will be punished by the heavens and suffer boundless pain until their souls are destroyed. It will not just be their wives, children, and friends, even their entire family will suffer the same fate. Zhao Fu looked quite confused. He had never thought that another outer world battlefield would open. Could it be that the trembling just then was because another world had collided with the heaven-awakened world? The heaven-awakened world was in quite a dangerous situation because it had not been able to deal with the chaotic world, and now there was another unknown world. It seemed that it would not be any weaker than the outer world. There were also the last 3 system announcements, which were quite terrifying. The first was that they had to obtain a certain number of points every month, and if they did not meet the requirements many times, their kingdom would be revoked. In other words, if they were a kingdom but were revoked, they would become an ordinary faction and would not have the power and authority of a kingdom. As a member of the royal family, they would suffer a backlash from the heaven and earth power. Zhao Fu had experienced this before, and it had not been easy for him to pass. Moreover, his power had been greatly reduced, and it would be difficult for him to recover. If a member of the royal family suffered this, their entire royal family would be crippled. Chapter 1730. The third rule was quite cruel. It would not only be the wife and children but the entire family that would be implicated and suffer boundless pain, making people feel quite terrified. Now, it seemed that the heaven-awakened world was going to be serious, and their attitude was quite cold and merciless. It seemed like they were going to go to war. It could be seen just how dangerous the heaven-awakened world was, and they could not afford to be careless or underestimate it. Everyone could not help but feel worried. If the Heaven-Awaken world was destroyed, as people from the Heaven-Awaken world, they would all be doomed. All races in the world would be slaughtered, and no one would be able to escape. It would be a true apocalyptic disaster, and corpses would pile up into mountains and blood would flow into rivers. Howls would fill the wilderness and all living creatures would be wiped out. This would definitely become a reality. For example, every creature in the primal chaos world had an innate desire to kill people from the Heaven-Awaken world. Do you think they would spare a single person from the Heaven-Awaken world? The invading world was not clear, but it definitely would not treat people from the Heaven-Awaken world kindly. After all, they were people from different worlds, and even if they did not want to kill them, the world's consciousness would order them to do so. Zhao Fu thought of something and felt quite startled. He had obtained the Primal Chaos world's legacy and some fate, and he planned to explore the Primal Chaos world in the future. Would he be treated as a traitor by the Heaven-Awaken world? However, it seemed that nothing had happened to him and that he had not been treated as a traitor. Otherwise, things would have been terrible. It would not just be him, but his women and the entire Ying family would have been doomed. All of his efforts would have been wasted, and the Qin Empire would have collapsed. Now, Zhao Fu felt quite curious as to what kind of world this invading world was. Now they had to participate in the battlefield, and even if they did not want to participate, they would be forced to participate. Zhao Fu immediately gathered his ministers and generals to discuss this matter. He put aside the matter of collecting interest from the ancient sword sect for now and would go after dealing with this matter. Countless major figures looked at the horizon with serious expressions. They had long since known that this would happen, and they were not surprised at all. The situation in the Heaven-Awaken world was indeed quite serious because the Heaven-Awaken world was facing the invasion of two worlds. If they could not defend against the outer world battlefield, those two worlds would directly invade the Heaven-Awaken world, and the consequences would be unimaginable. In times of danger, everyone in the Heaven-Awaken world would participate, and many higher beings and even half-step celestials would be unable to avoid this. This was why the Heaven-Awaken world was so cold and resolute. If it was invaded by the Heaven-Awaken world, its consciousness would dissipate, and it would die. It was not just the Great Qin Empire. The surrounding alliances, the Devil Horn Empire, the Second Wind God Empire, and many dukedom kingdoms and above were all discussing the alchemy battlefield. They did not have any information about the Heaven-Awaken world. World was not. Zhao Zhao. 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 Zhao Fu decided to take some people to explore. Only by personally seeing it would he be able to understand that world. Zhao Fu had already made his choice. The first was Di Moji. She was the strongest in the Qin Empire, and was an Emperor Heaven Realm expert. Zhao Fu most likely would not be able to use his nation armament in that invading world. Without a nation armament, Zhao Fu was not very powerful, so he needed an expert to protect him. The second was Molaf. His void ability was not only useful for escaping but also for hiding, allowing him to avoid some terrifying attack. Finally was Yu Ling. He had the ability to break through all barriers and could now instantly teleport to another world. These abilities were even more powerful than the Emperor Heaven Realm expert Di Moji. With this ability, if he faced danger that he could not defend against, he would be able to instantly escape. This time, Zhao Fu did not dare to be careless and made ample preparations in order to prevent any dangers. He placed great importance on this exploration. Now that Di Moji and Molaf had arrived, only Yu Ling was left. Zhao Fu went to Yu Ling and his mother's courtyard and saw his mother, Yu Qing, lovingly preparing clothes for Yu Ling. Yu Ling still looked like a 5 or 6-year-old child. Seeing Zhao Fu arrive, Yu Ling said happily, "Your Majesty, I'll be ready soon. I'll be ready soon. Just wait a moment." Yu Qingshui's face was red and her eyes became misty. She gave off an alluring aura as she bowed to Zhao Fu and called out, "I greet your majesty." Zhao Fu lightly laughed and said, Yu Qingshui also quickly packed up Yu Ling's things. She did not dare to keep Zhao Fu waiting here for too long. After packing up the things, Yu Qingshui handed them over to Yu Ling, who happily put them into his storage ring. Seeing his mother's blushing face, Yu Ling understood something and said, "Your Majesty, I'm quite worried about you. You haven't been here for a long time. Can you accompany my mother? I'll wait for you outside." Hearing this, Yu Qingshui's face became bright red and she felt incredibly embarrassed, unable to face Zhao Fu. However, her heart sped up and she could not help but look at Zhao Fu in anticipation. Zhao Fu responded with a smile. Yu Ling happily went outside while Zhao Fu hugged Yu Qingshui and walked into a room. The two of them started to intensely do it, and Yu Qingshui enjoyed it greatly. Zhao Fu did not come here often and could only think about it. A while later, Yu Qingshui's face became red and she helped Zhao Fu put on his clothes as she said tenderly, "Your Majesty, you must be careful this time. You have to be careful this time, and protect Ling well. Don't let him get hurt." Zhao Fu smiled and nodded before leaving the room. After coming outside, Yu Ling happily held Zhao Fu's hand and the two of them walked to the side. He now viewed Zhao Fu as his father. Zhao Fu brought Di Moji, Moluf, and Yu Ling to a stage at the center of the Qin city. This stage was 10,000 meters wide, and there was a door frame at the center. This door frame seemed to be made of metal, and there were scenes of battle engraved on it. It gave off a dense aura of killing and conquering, and it was 10 or so meters tall and 5 meters wide. The door in front of them was the battle gate, and they could use it to enter the outer world battlefield. Zhao Fu brought them to the battle gate and sent a wave of energy into the door frame, activating it. The door frame gave off a blood-red light and a blood-red screen of light appeared within the door. "Be careful from now on." Zhao Fu's expression was serious as he looked at the three people next to him and said. Chapter 1731. The sky was blood-red, and there was a gigantic moon in the sky, but it was like a machine, giving off a silver-white light. It seemed to be very close to the ground, and the plants on the ground were all extremely beautiful. There were black plants that were pitch black, white plants that were pure white, red plants that were eye-piercing, blue plants that were flawless, and green plants that were pure green. There was a strange aura all around them, and there were no signs of any creatures moving about. The world seemed to be completely silent. This was the alchemy world. Zhao Fu and the others looked around in shock. This alchemy world looked quite terrifying, and it would not be easy to deal with it. "Let's go," Zhao Fu said to the others as he looked around. Although the alchemy world looked strange, they still needed to explore it to find out what kind of world it was. Moreover, they also needed to choose the location of their base. Now that the Heaven Awakened world had forced them to enter the alchemy world, they definitely needed a place to set up camp. This would make it easier for their faction to develop and replenish supplies, and it would also be a safe place for them to rest. Everyone carefully walked forwards, looking around warily. Suddenly, a massive bear rushed out. It was 8 meters tall and had black fur. Its eyes were blood-red, and its claws looked like they were made of machinery, giving off a ferocious aura. The mechanical bear gave off terrifying power as it leapt towards Zhao Fu's group, wanting to tear them to shreds. Yu Ling grabbed onto Zhao Fu's clothes in fear, but Zhao Fu did not do anything. Moluf, who was also wearing a cloak, coldly smiled and disappeared, appearing behind the mechanical bear in the next second. It vigorously slashed out with the dagger in its hand, causing a sharp arc of light to appear and cut off the mechanical bear's head. Blood spurted out of the black bear's neck like a pillar of blood, and it fell like a rain of blood. However, something shocking happened. After its head was cut off, the mechanical bear stood where it was and did not fall. It seemed to have lost control of itself, and it swung its claws towards Moluf with immense power. Moluf looked quite surprised, and it had never thought that things would turn out like this. However, it did not panic, and its body disappeared into nothingness, dodging the mechanical bear's claws. In the next moment, Moluf appeared by the mechanical bear's side and sent a massive wave of power into its dagger. The dagger gave off an intense cold light and a sharp aura, and Moluf vigorously slashed out, causing a massive arc of light to appear. The arc of light sliced the mechanical bear's massive body in half, causing blood to fly everywhere. However, the upper half of the mechanical bear that had been cut in half could still move. Moluf once again slashed out with its dagger, sending out an arc of light that cut apart the mechanical bear's upper body. Only then did the mechanical bear completely die. Seeing this scene, Zhao Fu felt quite shocked. This mechanical bear only had stage 6 strength, and he had never thought that it would be so difficult to kill. It would not die even after its head was cut off, and it had to be cut into a few pieces before it could be killed. Perhaps that was the main reason. The mechanical ball was as big as a fist, and there were inscriptions on its surface. Zhao Fu felt quite shocked. After entering the Heaven Awakened world, it was the first time he had seen something so technologically advanced. Zhao Fu stretched out his hand, and a formless energy pulled the mechanical ball into his hand. Zhao Fu started to closely examine the mechanical ball. Firstly, the mechanical ball was warm, and as someone from the Heaven Awakened world, Zhao Fu could not use it. Moreover, the mechanical ball gave off a very powerful energy. This energy was quite special, and it could give powerful life force and power. It was like a core within a creature's body. However, even though the black bear had this mechanical ball as its core, it had lost control after cutting off its head, so it most likely needed its head to control its body. The head was a weak point, and if Zhao Fu wanted to kill it, he would have to destroy the mechanical ball. The mechanical ball's name was the Philosopher's Stone. Zhao Fu put the mechanical ball away. Everything that had just happened was just Zhao Fu's guess, and he did not know if it was the same for other creatures, so he continued onwards. Then, a robot tiger rushed out. This robot tiger was 6 meters long, and its head was like a robot. Its teeth were also metal, but its body was like a normal tiger's. It had yellow fur and its tail was also like a robot. This mechanical tiger's strength was only around stage 6, and there was no need for Zhao Fu to do anything. The mechanical tiger gave off a ferocious aura as it rushed over, and Moluf directly disappeared. With its previous experience, Moluf vigorously slashed out with its dagger, sending out a sharp arc of light that gave off terrifying power. It sliced apart the mechanical tiger's upper body, causing blood to fly everywhere. A blue mechanical ball rolled out, and the mechanical tiger instantly died. Zhao Fu stretched out his hand and grabbed the mechanical orb. He examined it and found that apart from the color, everything else was the same. Following this, they killed many more creatures and found that they all had mechanical balls called Philosopher's Stones within their bodies. This confirmed Zhao Fu's guess. Zhao Fu also confirmed how dangerous the alchemy world was, as well as some simple information. This alchemy world was most likely a world where creatures and machines fused. Not only were there all sorts of creatures and machines fused, but even parts of plants were mechanized, which was quite mystical. Zhao Fu felt that there was no conflict between creatures and machines, and they made their bodies more powerful. The parts that were mechanized could also provide decent defense. In actuality, Zhao Fu had collected their materials, and the most valuable parts were the parts that were mechanized. Not only were they quite hard, but their quality was also better than ores of the same stage, making them quite good materials. Because this was something from the alchemy world, if Qin wanted to use it, he would have to take it back and research it. Most importantly, if Qin could use it, he would be able to do quite well in the alchemy world. Moreover, even though this alchemy world did not have swarms of insects like the chaos world, it was still quite dangerous. This was because the creatures here were quite high-grade. The lowest-grade creatures that Zhao Fu saw had stage 3 power and had powerful life force. They also had mechanized bodies, making them quite difficult to kill. Chapter 1733. A few hours later, the silver mechanical moon disappeared, and countless sparks appeared on the ground. Countless rays of light illuminated the entire land, and a sun that looked like a furnace slowly rose from the ground. The temperature once again rose, and the surroundings became hot and dry, dispersing the coolness of the night. However, this temperature was still acceptable and was not as monstrous as the temperature in the outer world. By now, Zhao Fu and the others had explored some places and obtained some simple information. Apart from not finding the encampment, they had basically completed their exploration, and they could now send troops over. Boom, boom, boom. Not too long after Zhao Fu and the others advanced, they heard massive explosions as if some massive creature was walking. At the same time, they felt a massive pressure, and it seemed that this thing was incredibly terrifying. Everyone carefully headed in the direction of the sound. There was a 10,000-meter-long tortoise walking slowly. With each step it took, a massive mark would be left on the ground, and the ground would continuously tremble. That 10,000-meter-long tortoise had already been completely mechanized. One couldn't see any characteristics of a living creature. Its head, limbs, and the tortoise shell on its back were all mechanical. Its eyes were like a pair of huge green gems. What shocked Zhao Fu was that the turtle's shell seemed to have been modified by someone, and there were 2 rows of cannon-like things. There was no doubt that terrifying things would shoot out from within. This massive mechanical turtle could be said to be a massive fortress. If it was used on a battlefield, who knew how many people would die? Just with its mechanical body, even a stage 4 expert's full-powered attack would not be able to harm it at all. After all, a fully mechanical body could only be described as monstrous. There were about a dozen people standing on the turtle's head. They looked like ordinary people, but some of them had mechanical eyes, some had mechanical arms, and some had mechanical heads. Some were relatively normal, but they were wearing mechanical armor. At that moment, a refined-looking youth happily said, "In this realm war, we have holy beasts, so we'll definitely be able to kill countless heaven-awakened world people. The alchemy god's rewards are very bountiful, and I have many things that I'm interested in." The cold-looking young man said, "The realm war has only just begun, and the heaven-awakened world people haven't officially entered the battlefield yet. We can't kill too many heaven-awakened world people right now. Once they enter, we'll slaughter them." A slim and gentle-looking woman hugged the cold-looking young man's arm and smiled as she said, "I'm quite curious and looking forward to seeing what heaven-awakened world people are like." The fat young man said with a lewd smile, "I'm also looking forward to it. When the time comes, we'll capture a few princesses to play with and kill them after we've had enough." A beautiful woman with a graceful figure and a gloomy aura said coldly, "Let me remind you that what you like to do has nothing to do with me. However, if you do it in front of me, I'll kill you." The fat man snorted coldly, "Is that so? I want to see how you'll kill me." The gloomy-looking woman's gaze was cold, and the mechanical arm on her left hand gave off a cold light. Seeing this, a voluptuous woman with a sweet-tempered aura hurriedly said, "All right. We're in a small group. Let's not fight over such a small matter." A gentle-looking young man also stood up and said, "That's right. Let's all be friendly. Perhaps we'll meet heaven-awakened world people soon, so there's no need to fight among ourselves." A seductive woman with a flirtatious figure shyly lay in a handsome-looking man's embrace, saying, "Husband, when the heaven-awakened world people appear, you have to protect me." The handsome-looking man smiled and nodded. An ugly-looking young man secretly looked at the two of them with jealousy. That flirtatious woman was someone he had a crush on, and he had expressed his feelings for her. It was a pity that the flirtatious woman did not like him at all. There were two strong-looking young men standing by the side, and did not say anything. Standing at the front was a woman with a mature figure and a calm aura. She was the captain of this small group, and had the simplest strength. She was already at the world realm. She did not pay attention to the conversation between the team members behind her, and instead looked around warily in case any danger appeared. Roar! A massive roar suddenly sounded out from the tortoise's mouth, causing everyone to feel quite startled. The holy beast had definitely discovered an enemy. Zhao Fu and his group appeared in the air and had wanted to launch a sneak attack, but they had been discovered by the massive tortoise. Looking at the people in front of him, Zhao Fu understood that they were indigenous residents of the alchemy world. He would be able to obtain important information from them, and Zhao Fu wanted to capture them and interrogate them. Seeing Zhao Fu and his group, those people understood that Zhao Fu was a heaven-awakened world person, and they looked quite disappointed. They had brought their holy beast to kill a large number of heaven-awakened world people, and killing a few of them would not give them many points. However, looking at D-Moji next to Zhao Fu, they could not help but feel tempted. D-Moji was the #1 beauty in the demon domain, and she was even more beautiful than ordinary celestial fairies. The chubby young man loudly laughed as he said, "Boy, leave that woman next to you. If you scram now, you'll be able to live." Zhao Fu lightly laughed and did not mind this young man who was about to die. This 10,000-meter-long mechanical tortoise's strength had reached the extreme divine realm, but because of its size, its destructive power was even more terrifying than ordinary Emperor Heaven Realm experts. At that moment, the female captain seemed to sense the danger that Zhao Fu and his group were in, and she immediately said, "Attack!" Even though the people around her did not understand, they still obeyed and stood in different corners. A magic formation appeared, giving off boundless light, and a terrifying aura exploded out. The cannons on the tortoise's shell quickly moved and aimed at Zhao Fu and his group. Countless rays of green light shot out from the cannons, and a terrifying aura spread out. Boom! 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 Powerful beams of light containing terrifying power shot out, seeming to be able to pierce through everything. They were incredibly fast and gave off shockwaves as they streaked past, creating a shocking scene. Chapter 1734. This caused the countless beams of light to land on the ground or shoot into the sky. They were incredibly powerful, and every single one of them blasted open a hole that was dozens of meters wide and dozens of meters deep. Against countless soldiers, it was unknown how many of them would die. Seeing Zhao Fu and the others go to the turtle's head, the group of people felt quite startled and immediately activated their defensive barriers. The magic formation beneath their feet gave off an intense light, and the turtle's massive power gathered, forming a defensive barrier that covered everyone's bodies. Only then did everyone feel a trace of security and let out a sigh of relief. The female captain hurriedly called out, "Activate the tortoise spirit formation and suppress those people." Hearing this, everyone squatted down and stretched out a hand, exploding out with immense power as they pressed down on the magic formation beneath them. Boom! A massive aura spread out as the magic formation gave off countless traces of green aura, giving off terrifying power as it flooded towards Zhao Fu and the others. Zhao Fu coldly laughed as 6 different aura flames erupted around Zhao Fu's body, sending out a massive gale. An extremely terrifying power spread out from Zhao Fu's body as he squatted down and vigorously pressed down, and the golden pupil in his left eye quickly spun. Clang, 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 massive chains giving off terrifying power stretched out from the ground and bound up the robot tortoise. They then vigorously pulled, causing the robot tortoise to lie on the ground. The group of people felt quite startled. This had interrupted their attack, and they had never thought that someone with such low cultivation like Zhao Fu would be able to explode out with such terrifying power. They also controlled the tortoise to struggle, and the tortoise struggled with terrifying power, causing the massive chain world to break apart. Zhao Fu looked at Dimoji, who had a trace of a smile on her face as she drew her demon sword and exploded out with the aura of an Emperor Heaven Realm expert. The entire heavens and earth seemed to sink as a terrifying wave of power entered the demon sword, causing it to give off an intense demonic light. Boom! Dimoji slashed out with all of her strength, sending out an enormous black sword light that gave off countless black arcs of lightning. It seemed to be able to destroy everything as it slammed into the defensive barrier. Bang! The sword light slashed onto the defensive barrier, causing a massive sound to ring out. Countless black sword lights spread out, giving off a terrifying sword wind. A crack appeared on the defensive barrier, and the hearts of the group of people sank to the bottom. They had never thought that the extremely beautiful woman beside Zhao Fu would be the most terrifying person. But why would such a terrifying person appear? This region was close to the central domain, and ordinary world realm experts were already the most terrifying existences. They had saint beasts, so they did not have to fear ordinary Emperor Heaven Realm experts. They could sweep through this region, and no one would be able to stop them. However, they had encountered Zhao Fu's group. As the #1 beauty in the demon domain, Dimoji was not only more powerful than ordinary Emperor Heaven Realm experts, but she also surpassed ordinary Emperor Heaven Realm experts. Boom! Dimoji slashed out with her sword again. That terrifying sword light struck the barrier again, causing a crack to appear on it. That group of people's faces became pale. It was possible that they were going to die here today. Now, they did not have the arrogance and confidence that they had before. Bang! Dimoji once again slashed out, sending out a shocking sword light containing immense power. The sword light slashed onto the defensive barrier, causing it to shatter. The female captain's face became pale and she immediately yelled, "Hurry up and run! If we can escape, we'll be lucky." She had not brought people to kill Heaven Awakened world people, but they had encountered a difficult grade existence. Now, they could only rely on their luck to escape. However, some people would definitely die here, and as the captain, she did not want to be one of them. Everyone understood this, and the instant that the defensive barrier shattered, they exploded out with powerful auras and turned into rays of light that shot towards the horizon. Zhao Fu coldly laughed and exploded out with even greater power. He vigorously pressed down, causing countless chains to shoot out towards the escaping people. The group of people held their weapons and quickly slashed out cold lights, but the chains were densely packed and shot out from all directions. After breaking some chains, they were bound by countless chains, and not a single one was able to escape. Without their control, the tortoise stood motionless on the spot. It did not resist at all. The people bound by the chains all had unsightly expressions. Not a single one had been able to escape. They were going to die here today. Zhao Fu gave a trace of a smile as he stood up and looked at the chubby young man. The chubby young man immediately said in terror, "Don't kill me! I'm begging you, I can submit to you and tell you anything you want to know." Hearing the chubby young man's words, everyone felt furious and looked at him condescendingly. This chubby young man submitted to an outsider so quickly. He's a disgrace to the alchemy world's people. He's just a coward, and he's willing to provide information. He's a damn traitor. Zhao Fu smiled as he stretched out a hand and grabbed at the chubby young man, and a formless energy grabbed onto his head. Bang! An explosion sounded out as the chubby young man's head exploded like a watermelon. Brain juice and blood flew everywhere, covering the people around him. Everyone felt quite surprised. They had never thought that Zhao Fu would kill the chubby young man. However, Zhao Fu did not mind. The chubby young man's words meant that he would die without a doubt. As for information, Zhao Fu would naturally have a way to obtain it later. Zhao Fu looked at the chubby young man's headless corpse and found that it did not move at all. Could it be that there was no philosopher's stone within his body? Zhao Fu waved his hand and a sword light flew out, cutting the chubby young man's body in half. Blood and organs splattered on the ground, creating a disgusting and terrifying scene. A red mechanical orb fell out, but it was only as big as an egg. Looking at this mechanical orb, Zhao Fu felt even more confused. Why did it have a philosopher's stone? Zhao Fu's body did not move, and he grabbed the mechanical orb with his hand to examine it. Very quickly, Zhao Fu found the reason. This mechanical orb was the philosopher's stone, and it contained a portion of the chubby young man's soul. As long as the philosopher's stone was given a powerful fleshly energy, the chubby young man would be able to revive. This was why the philosopher's stone had not moved the chubby young man's corpse. Zhao Fu was once again shocked. The alchemy race's methods were truly powerful and strange. Chapter 1735. A black flame appeared in Zhao Fu's hand, which covered the philosopher's stone. The chubby young man's pained cry sounded out from within the philosopher's stone before there was no more movement. His soul had been directly incinerated, and this caused the other gold refiners to feel terror. Perhaps this would be their end. However, Zhao Fu was not interested in paying attention to them for now, and he went to the magic formation on the turtle's head. Zhao Fu was quite interested in it because this was a battle fort. Zhao Fu had just seen how terrifying it was, and if Qin could use it, it would be of great use to Qin. After looking at it, Zhao Fu felt quite delighted. Even though he could not control this gigantic mechanical ghost, this mechanical turtle was like a real machine. If he left it there, it would not move at all and would not take the initiative to attack people. This was different to the primal chaos world. When those insects saw heaven-awakened world people, they would madly attack, and it would be impossible to subdue them for Qin to use. Even though Qin had subdued millions of chaos people and they could control insects, when those insects saw heaven-awakened world people, they would uncontrollably attack. That was why Zhao Fu had developed his own insect. This mechanical turtle did not have this weakness, and if he subdued a few gold refiners and had them control it, Qin would be able to control this battle fort. Zhao Fu looked at the gold refiners and smiled as he said, "I don't need to say much, right? Do you choose to submit or die?" A young man looked resolute as he looked at Zhao Fu and said, "If you want to kill me, then kill me. There's no need to waste your breath. I won't submit to you heaven-awakened world people. My people will definitely take revenge for me, and I'll pay you back 10 times over." Zhao Fu did not say anything else and waved his hand, sending out a massive wave of power that blasted the young man's head apart. Blood and brain matter flew everywhere, covering the faces of the people around them, and the stench of blood became even thicker. The weak-looking woman said in terror, "Don't kill me. I'm willing to submit to you. I'll tell you anything you want to know." Her surrender caused the others to hesitate, because it was clear that they were not going to die. The woman who was the leader was also among them. In the end, a total of 3 women and 2 young men were willing to surrender, including the woman who was the leader. As for the others who did not surrender, Zhao Fu did not kill them. He planned to bring them back for research. After Zhao Fu placed restrictions on the 3 women and 2 young men, he released them and asked, "What is this mechanical tortoise?" The leader of the group, the woman, said, "That's our clan's holy beast, and it was created by capturing a complete alchemy divine turtle. According to its strength, it's a level 4 holy beast and has terrifying destructive power." Zhao Fu nodded and asked, "How many of these saint beasts does your family have?" The woman calmly replied, "Not many, there are only a few dozen of them." Zhao Fu let out a sigh of relief. These battle fortresses were incredibly powerful, and if there were many of them, they would be able to destroy the heavens and earth. No matter how many soldiers charged at them, they would be blasted into pieces. "Can you still control these saint beasts?" Zhao Fu asked. He had only been guessing, and he wanted to confirm it. The woman shook her head and replied, "No." Zhao Fu felt quite confused. "Why is that?" "You could use them before you submitted. Why can't you use them now? The woman stretched out a hand and explained, Look, we don't have the alchemy family's mark on the back of our hands because we've submitted to you and are now traitors. The alchemy family's mark will disappear, and the saint beasts need the alchemy family's mark to control them. Look at those who have not surrendered, they still have the mark on the back of their hands. Hearing her words, Zhao Fu looked at the hands of those who had not surrendered. Indeed, there was a green mark on them, which looked like a combination of a turtle shell and a rune. It looked quite mysterious. Can't Qin use that mechanical turtle? Zhao Fu felt quite disappointed and wanted to continue asking, but Di Moji reminded him, Husband, there are many people approaching. There are many people approaching from here. Let's leave this place first. At that moment, the woman said, Saint beasts can sense each other, and the alchemy family's mark can also sense each other. The people coming should be people from our family. Hearing this, Zhao Fu did not have any suspicions. He exploded out with a massive amount of power and pressed down on the crow tribe. The golden pupil in his left eye quickly spun, causing a black hole to appear in the ground, and the massive mechanical turtle's body slowly sank into it. Zhao Fu did not want to leave this massive battle fortress here, as he thought that he could let Qin use it in the future. Now that it was sealed in the sealed space, the connection would be sealed as well, so there should be no problems. Now that they had pretty much explored the alchemy world and had captured many alchemy race people, there was no need for Zhao Fu and the others to continue staying here. They returned to where they had come from. This place was connected to Qin's battle gate, so they could directly return to Qin. After returning to Qin, Zhao Fu did not gather the ministers and generals for a meeting, and he instead continued to talk with the woman, asking about the alchemy world. Half a day later, Zhao Fu obtained a lot of useful information, and he now understood what kind of world the alchemy world was. The alchemy world did not have any kingdoms or sects, only various organizations and families. The entire world was controlled by these families and organizations, which was different from the Heaven Awakened world. The alchemy world's power mainly consisted of alchemy power, and there were no other types of power. Alchemy power was an innate power, which was something that one was born with. When one condensed alchemy power to a high degree, it would form the Philosopher's Stone. Zhao Fu's previous guesses had been wrong. Not all creatures in the alchemy world had the Philosopher's Stone. Some creatures that were too weak did not even have the Philosopher's Stone. The Philosopher's Stone contained a large amount of life force and power, and it had all sorts of unimaginable uses. Could be used everywhere, and it was the core item that supported the alchemy world. Without the Philosopher's Stone, the alchemy world would most likely collapse. The alchemy world had always been researching the Philosopher's Stone, and what Zhao Fu cared about the most was the weakness of the Philosopher's Stone. If he could grasp the weakness of the Philosopher's Stone, he would be able to grasp a way to deal with the entire alchemy world. Chapter 1736. Alchemy power was a kind of creation, life, and mechanical power. As long as one had alchemy power, they could create all kinds of items. They could turn stone into metal, create things from nothing, and they could even give cold metal life. In the alchemy world, experts could create powerful mechanical life forms, and the more powerful they were, the more terrifying the things they created. To deal with this kind of power, one needed destruction, death, and flame power. In other words, powerful destruction, death, and flame power could deal with alchemy power. Zhao Fu thought that the primal chaos world's power should be quite effective against alchemy power because the primal chaos aura's attributes were chaos and destruction. He could try to see if the primal chaos aura could restrain alchemy power. In actuality, the Philosopher's Stone was a very good treasure, and almost everyone in the alchemy world had one. This made their overall fighting strength much higher than Tianqi's side, and it was quite difficult to deal with them. Zhao Fu wondered if the Philosopher's Stone could be used by Qin, so he asked about this in detail, and obtained a detailed answer. The answer was, of course, impossible. After all, alchemy power was a kind of innate power, and it was a kind of law power. Unless one had the alchemy world's bloodline, it was impossible to obtain alchemy power. Even if one swallowed the philosopher's stone or fused it into one's body, the alchemy power would only corrode one's body and would not give one alchemy power. However, Zhao Fu had a detailed understanding of the principles and methods of forming the philosopher's stone, so he planned to give it a try and see if he could create a philosopher's stone that belonged to Qin. Zhao Fu felt that the 8 forbidden blood arts creation power was somewhat similar to the creation power of alchemy power. Perhaps he could use this to create a philosopher's stone. There was also information about holy beasts. In the alchemy world, every family or organization had a corresponding holy beast, and those holy beasts were related to the family's alchemy imprint. For example, the woman in front of Zhao Fu and the others who had been captured all belonged to the wood turtle family. They were named after wood, and the woman was called Mu Minxian. She was a young lady of the family, and her status was not very low. As for why they were called the wooden tortoise family, it was because they were bound to something similar to a tortoise nest. That tortoise nest would constantly spawn mechanical tortoises, and the family only needed to focus on nurturing and modifying them to become holy beasts. These newly spawned mechanical turtles were tightly bound to the family, so they needed the family's alchemy mark to be able to use them. Other people didn't have the ability at all. To a certain extent, that powerful mechanical ghost nest was also rooted in some of the family's bloodline attributes, causing the family's alchemy imprint to be related to the tortoise. If it was bound to an ape's nest, then the family's sacred beast would be an ape, and the mark would also be related to apes. If it was bound to a bird's nest, then the family's sacred beast was a bird, and the mark was also related to birds. If Zhao Fu wanted that holy beast, he would have to find a way to make the entire family submit to him and take possession of the product of the family's alchemy stone and nest. Otherwise, he would not be able to use that holy beast. However, Zhao Fu was still quite delighted because this would allow him to devour these families' factions, allowing Qin to develop in the alchemy world. It would not be like the chaotic world, which could only rely on killing to obtain materials and points, and it would not increase one's strength at all. Finally, it was the geographical location. The alchemy world was the same as other worlds. It was divided into the inner area, the central area, and the outer area. That place was the position of the outer area next to the central area. Zhao Fu guessed that this was related to strength, as Qin already had 9 worlds and was about to become a royal kingdom. If it was an ordinary dukedom, it would most likely be in the middle of the outer domain. After figuring out everything, Zhao Fu found Bai Shan, Gongsun Zhu, and Gongsun Lin. Bai Shan happily smiled and said respectfully, "Your Majesty, what business do you have with me? What business do you have with this old man?" Zhao Fu gave a trace of a smile as he handed the Philosopher's Stone to Bai Shan and told him some things about the Philosopher's Stone, asking him to take some people to research it. Bai Shan held the Philosopher's Stone and looked at it with great interest. If Qin's research was successful, not only would it increase Qin's strength, but it would also quickly heal any injuries in the future. This was quite important to Qin. Princess Zhu gave a trace of a smile as she said movingly, "Your Majesty, what business do you have with us?" Gongsun Lin looked at Zhao Fu with her beautiful eyes and lightly harumphed as she said, "If there's anything, come find us. It's hard to even see us if we don't have the time." Zhao Fu apologetically smiled and took out the various materials he had obtained from the alchemy world as he said, "Take a look and see if these materials can be fused into weapons." Looking at the various materials, the 2 sisters' gazes fell on the materials, and their eyes lit up as they immediately went up to look at the materials. To them, finding high-quality materials to forge top-tier equipment was something they pursued their entire lives. "Your Majesty, this material feels quite special. It looks like a metal ore, but it also seems to come from a creature's body. Even though its spirituality isn't very strong, it has a mystical life force. If it's forged into equipment, it'll be a very special equipment, Gongsun Zhu said as she smiled in delight. Zhao Fu lightly smiled as he replied, "This is a material from the alchemy world. That world is a place where machines and life converge, which is why it has this material." Gongsun Zhu looked at the materials and nodded. She could not wait to try out the materials, so she took Gongsun Lin and the materials and left. Bai Shan also took the philosopher's stones and left. Zhao Fu anxiously discussed the various matters of the alchemy world with his ministers and generals. They mainly discussed how to construct garrisons, defenses, and military strength. By now, Qin had opened up many battlefields, and each one required a large number of soldiers. As such, there would not be many soldiers entering the alchemy world this time. After discussing with Zhao Fu and the others, they decided to send 500 million soldiers in. Moreover, Zhao Fu had seen how powerful the alchemy world was, so the soldiers that were sent in were not to kill but to defend. They would first create a foundation for Qin before deploying the soldiers. Following this, the experiment on restraining attributes in the alchemy world began, and Zhao Fu took Mu Minxian to the laboratory. There was an insect beast that had just been captured. It looked like an ant and was black. It was as big as a calf and gave off a chaotic aura. It was tied up by a chain, and there were soldiers pulling on both sides of the chain. Chapter 1737. Let go of it, Zhao Fu said to the two soldiers holding onto the chains. Hearing Zhao Fu's words, the soldiers immediately let go of the chains. The insect beast looked at Zhao Fu with a cruel and bloodthirsty gaze and gave off a ferocious aura as it charged at Zhao Fu. Mu Minxian, who was at the side, took a step forward and stretched out a hand. One of her arms was a mechanical arm. A wave of energy gathered in her palm, which gave off a silver-white light. A formless energy spread out, and a silver-white metallic wall immediately stretched out from the ground, blocking in front of her. Bang! The insect beast slammed against the metallic wall, resulting in a massive sound. Its sharp pincers stabbed into the metallic wall, leaving behind two marks that were a few centimeters deep. Seeing that it could not break through the wall, the insect beast went berserk and vigorously smashed against the metallic wall, leaving behind deep marks. In the end, seeing that it could not break through the wall, the insect beast could only look at the soldiers and ferociously charge at them. Without even needing Zhao Fu to do anything, the soldier stabbed out with his spear. The spear gave off shocking power as it stabbed out like a bolt of lightning, piercing through the insect beast's head and killing it on the spot. Zhao Fu walked over to the wall and looked at it carefully. He found that the chaotic energy could indeed counter alchemy energy, causing it to weaken and fall into chaos. The marks on the wall could be seen with the naked eye, and some of the metal continuously disintegrated, causing the marks to become a bit larger. Zhao Fu had the soldiers use weapons from the Heaven Awakened world to attack the wall, but they were unable to achieve the same effect. Zhao Fu could not help but feel delighted. If he took the outer world materials to the Heaven Awakened world to create defenses in the Heaven Awakened world, they would be able to counter alchemy creatures and greatly increase the safety of the base. They could also be made into weapons to attack the creatures in the Heaven Awakened world. However, Qin could not directly use the outer world materials, as they countered the Heaven Awakened world's people. As such, he needed the fusion materials. Thanks to Gongsun Lin and her sister, they found a way to combine the materials of the two worlds, so Zhao Fu gave the materials of the alchemy world to them to study, hoping that they would also have a surprise discovery later. As for the materials, there was no need for Zhao Fu to worry. He had been in the chaotic world for a long time and had collected a large number of materials, enough to satisfy Qin's needs. After that, it was time to enter the alchemy world to build the station. Zhao Fu sent many strong people to guard the station, mainly to prevent the holy beasts from the alchemy world from suddenly launching an attack, which could cause great damage to Qin. The first thing to do was to build the city walls, which were made from materials from the outer world and the heaven-awakened world. They were made from massive stone bricks, and with some formations, the city walls would be able to defend against ferocious attacks from Saint Beasts. After the city walls were built, it was time to put up the exchange stone steels. Thinking about the system announcements from the heaven-awakened world, Zhao Fu could not help but take a look out of curiosity. The results were quite shocking. There were many times more god armaments and celestial armaments than before, and there were even many celestial great arts. The godly material that Zhao Fu had found before, which was the material for refining the world's consciousness, could also be found in the exchange stone steels. That material was called a Tao-seeking stone, and it was a stone that contained heavenly energy and was extremely powerful. Before, the origin god iron was even more valuable, and it was normally used as a sex-defining item. The Tao-seeking stone was a great help to one's cultivation, and it could help one comprehend things faster and cultivate even faster. There was also the World Noble Rank system, which could be directly exchanged for at the exchange stone steel. These World Noble Ranks gave bonuses to one's fate and allowed one's territory to regain its production attribute, as well as not being weakened by the heaven-awakened world. Before, didn't region power, kingdom power, fate power, and city power all weaken? If one exchanged for a World Noble Rank, one would be able to avoid these weakening effects. Most importantly, one could directly exchange for territory. For example, Zhao Fu could exchange for a nearby world as his own territory. This was a territory recognized by the heaven-awakened world, and no one could resist it. Even if they resisted, it would be useless. After all, who could resist the heaven-awakened world's consciousness? It was simply impossible. However, there were restrictions. The territories that could be exchanged could not be the territories of the factions that had participated in the Realm War. In other words, the territories of factions below the Dukedom Kingdom could all be exchanged for, and those factions did not have the right to choose. Even if the territory belonged to them, they would still be kicked out. They would become people without territories. Moreover, some kingdoms that had not completed point-based quests and had been punished could also exchange for their territories. At the same time, they could also exchange for a large number of their populations, which would belong to the person who exchanged for the territory. They could not resist, as there was a penalty of being a traitor. All of their stats would be weakened by 80%, and in severe cases, they could even die. Before, some people had been envious of the factions below the Dukedom Kingdom because they did not have to worry at all and did not have to take such great risks to participate in the Realm War. Now, it seemed that they did not have it easy either. If someone exchanged for their territory, they would not have any choice and would be kicked out of their territory. They could only pray that no one would exchange for their territory. Of course, exchanging for territory and population required a massive amount of points, and unless it was someone who desperately needed them, they would not exchange for these things. After looking through all of the new items, everyone felt quite excited. The heaven-awakened world's consciousness had put in a lot of effort for this war. Now that the heaven-awakened world was facing two worlds of the same level, it faced immense pressure. Even though Zhao Fu had the sealing heaven suppressing earth formation and could leave the heaven-awakened world at any time, Zhao Fu did not want that day to come. After all, in the boundless void, suppressing a territory was simply too dangerous. Who knew how many worlds like the heaven-awakened world, the outer world, and the golden world were out there? It would be impossible for Zhao Fu to escape from them, as in front of them, Qin would not even be an ant and would be instantly killed. Within the Golden World's territory, Zhao Fu planned to leave it to Wang Jian to properly set up defenses. When there was enough protection, they would attack the other factions. Mu Minxian's performance was quite good, and Zhao Fu had put her in an important position. She had also actively cooperated with Qin and explained the situation nearby in detail so that Qin could be prepared. Chapter 1738. The fact that Qin had built such a large base here quickly alerted the four factions. They naturally wanted to directly attack Qin, but seeing the massive army and the experts in the sky, they did not dare to attack Qin for now. By now, Great Qin did not bother with them and quickly built up its defenses. That was its main goal. However, a few days later, roughly 300 million alchemist soldiers and thousands of holy beasts started to attack Qin. In actuality, if Qin's soldiers did not use anything else to deal with the alchemist soldiers, as long as their cultivation was the same, the Qin soldiers would most likely lose. After all, the alchemist soldiers' alchemy power was incredibly difficult to deal with. However, Qin's soldiers all had silver-grade equipment sets, and adding on the fact that they had fused with darkness energy, they were not much weaker than the alchemist soldiers, but they did not have much of an advantage. The attacking alchemist soldiers did not know Qin's true strength, and they thought that it was an ordinary Heaven-Awakened World faction, so they attacked with 300 million soldiers. The attacking soldiers were quite powerful, and they were even stronger than Stage 2 soldiers. After all, Qin's side did not have Stage 1 soldiers. They were also Stage 2 soldiers. Because of Mu Minxian, Qin had a certain understanding of the surroundings. Here, Stage 1 soldiers were not very useful unless they were dealing with some of the most remote factions in the outer domain. These factions were very weak, so their soldiers' cultivation was only at Stage 1. However, in the outer domain, the most basic soldiers were at Stage 2. If one did not have this strength, they would have to retreat to a more remote place and set up a battle gate, or else their fates would be quite tragic. Both sides were from different worlds, so there was nothing to say. As such, the people from the outer domain directly attacked. The way they attacked was also quite special. The people at the front were holding metal spears in their hands. As they charged forward, they used the momentum of the charge to throw those spears out. Boom! Boom! The spears that had been shot out disappeared, and magic formations appeared in the air as even more spears appeared, giving off sharp auras as they shot towards Great Qin's defensive walls. There were so many of them that it was impossible to count them, creating a terrifying scene. Zhao Fu did not hesitate and activated his defensive barrier. A gray defensive barrier appeared, and as the spears collided against it, clanging sounds could be heard. Some were sent flying, while others were broken. The defensive barrier was also slightly damaged. Zhao Fu did not hesitate to activate his defensive barrier. The people of the alchemy world did not expect the shield to be so strong. Zhao Fu was also surprised by the power of the alchemy world's attack. This gray energy barrier was also formed from the power of the primal chaos world. However, after enduring the first wave of terror, a few tiny cracks appeared on it. Seeing that they were unable to break through Qin's defense, the alchemy world started to use the War Saint Beast. The ground continuously trembled as massive creatures appeared with terrifying pressure. The 1,000 or so terrifying War Saint Beasts were even more terrifying than the 100,000 beasts. Each of them was at least 1,000 meters long and had massive cannons on their back. They seemed to be able to destroy everything, and no one could stop them. Boom! At that moment, the countless cannons gave off intense light and an extremely terrifying power spread out, making people feel incredibly shocked. Boom! 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 Shocking rays of light shot out, giving off destructive power as they shot towards the defensive barrier. The light illuminated the surroundings and was incredibly fast. The sky was filled with countless rays of light, creating a terrifying scene. Bang! 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 The beams of light smashed into the barrier, causing loud explosions. More and more cracks appeared on the barrier, and in the end, it shattered into countless pieces and dissipated. Seeing that the defensive barrier had been destroyed, the countless alchemy world soldiers grinned, and prepared to attack again. Suddenly, countless rays of intense holy light appeared as 100-meter-tall god emissaries giving off powerful auras appeared and stretched out a hand towards the countless war saint beasts. Boom! 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 Massive rays of white light gave off destructive power as they shot towards the countless war saint beasts, leaving behind traces of light and causing space to tremble. Even though Qin did not have any war saint beasts, he had similar methods. Zhao Fu understood that the greatest threat was the war saint beasts, so he had to first destroy them. Only then would the battlefield be advantageous to him. The people controlling the war saint beasts felt quite startled and hurriedly activated their defenses. Massive defensive barriers appeared, covering the war saint beasts' bodies. Boom! 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 White rays of light slammed against the defensive barriers, resulting in explosions. Countless rays of intense light blasted out and terrifying shockwaves spread out. After everything settled, only tens of the war saint beasts had been destroyed, and they were the smaller ones. The larger war saint beasts were completely fine. Zhao Fu felt quite surprised because he had summoned 50,000 holy light emissaries. Even with so many holy light emissaries attacking, they had only destroyed tens of war saint beasts. The war saint beasts' defenses were quite terrifying. Moreover, they had seized this opportunity to focus their firepower on the war saint beasts. Next time, they would not have such a good opportunity. Losing tens of war saint beasts out of the 1,000 war saint beasts, even though they did not suffer too great of a loss, the war saint beasts were no longer as unbridled as before. Kill! At that moment, the war saint beasts' soldiers charged. Countless people flooded over with powerful auras, shaking the surroundings. At the back of the war saint beasts' army, people wearing mechanical gloves gathered together and burst out with a powerful aura. They then squatted down and pressed their hands on the ground, causing an alchemy formation to appear. The alchemy formation gave off boundless light, and massive amounts of alchemy power poured into it, causing a formless energy to rush forward. Boom! 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 Metal stairs stretched out from the ground extremely quickly towards the city walls that Qin had constructed. From a distance, it looked like a slanted flight of stairs that led from the ground to the city walls, greatly reducing the effectiveness of the city walls. The war saint beasts' army directly stepped onto the metal stairs and gave off powerful auras as they rushed towards Qin's soldiers on the city walls. They were extremely fast, and it looked like they were about to reach the city walls. Zhao Fu's heart tightened, and he immediately gave the order for the holy light emissaries to attack the countless metal stairs. Boom! 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 Powerful white rays of light bombarded the metal stairs, causing them to shatter. Countless people fell from the stairs, and some were even hit by the white rays of light, causing their bodies to explode into countless pieces. Chapter 1739. Zhao Fu wanted to give the order to attack the people constructing the metal stairs, but the cannons behind the holy beasts were once again aimed at Qin City. Boom! 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 Powerful rays of light shot out, bringing with them shocking power as they flashed past and landed on the Great Wall, resulting in explosions. Countless Qin City's soldiers were hit, and their bodies exploded. Blood and flesh flew everywhere as howls continuously sounded out. It was unknown how many people were injured or killed. Zhao Fu immediately gave the order to withdraw the ballistae. These were all Stage 2 ballistae, and the lowest grade materials were blue grade. They had been modified from the dragon-slaying ballistae, and there were metal bolts mounted on them. These bolts were quite bright-colored because they had been fused with insect materials and heaven-awakened world metals. Each one was as thick as a finger and was 2 meters long. Swish, 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 the sound of the air being torn could be heard as countless bolts containing immense force shot out, drawing out arcs in the air and giving off sharp auras as they descended like a torrential downpour. Chi, 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 countless soldiers charging up were pierced through by the bolts, and their corpses were nailed to the ground. Blood flew everywhere as cries continuously sounded out. It was unknown how many soldiers had died, but their tough mechanical armor was not of much use. This caused the gold refiner people to feel quite confused. Not only was their gold refiner armor incredibly tough, but it was also incredibly light. It could even be repaired by injecting gold power into it, and it was the armor that could unleash the gold refiner people's full potential. Logically speaking, if the gold refiner soldiers used their full strength to defend, they would have been able to defend against the bolt. However, they had been easily pierced through, and the materials of the bolts seemed to be able to counter their gold refiner power. Some of the metal in the holes started to disintegrate and turn into powder. Now, the gold refiner people could not help but become serious. It seemed that the other side had been sent over and would not be so easy to deal with. Zhao Fu had the archers aim at the gold refiner soldiers coming out of the metal stairs. Swish, 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 bolts containing immense force shot out, leaving behind black blurs as they shot towards the incoming gold refiner soldiers. The soldiers waved their weapons or used their mechanical arms to block. Some were hit and screamed, while others died on the spot and fell from the metal stairs. These bolts were quite effective because the bolts also contained insect materials, but they were not as strong as the ballistae. Moreover, many of them used their mechanical shields to defend. On the alchemist's side, the cannons of the war beasts were once again aimed at Qin's side. Boom, boom, boom. Powerful rays of light containing terrifying power once again shot out towards Qin City's city walls. At that moment, Zhao Fu had the Holy Light emissaries form a defensive formation. The Holy Light emissaries exploded out with great power and stretched out their hands, giving off boundless white light that covered the city walls. Bang 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 explosions sounded out as the rays of light landed on the defensive barrier, shattering it. The Holy Light emissaries suffered some damage, but they were able to block many of the rays of light. However, the range of the beams of light from the holy beasts was too large, and without a defensive barrier that could protect the entire city wall, it would be impossible to completely protect the city wall. As such, some of the beams of light still hit the city wall, causing it to explode. By now, the city walls had also suffered some damage. Fortunately, they had fused materials from the primal chaos world, or else the city walls would have collapsed after being hit by so many rays of light. Kill! By now, many gold refiner soldiers had used the metal stairs to rush up to the city walls and savagely charged at Qin's soldiers. Qin's soldiers had cold expressions and did not show any fear as they rushed up with their weapons. Clang! 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 Countless sounds of metal clashing could be heard as the two sides started to fight. Waves of power spread out and it seemed quite chaotic. Blood flew everywhere and pained cries continuously sounded out. A Qin soldier held a large saber and vigorously slashed out, sending a gold refiner soldier flying. A Qin soldier held a spear and pierced through a gold refiner soldier's chest, while a Qin soldier chopped a gold refiner soldier in half with an axe. A gold refiner soldier waved its mechanical arm, and a terrifying wave of power crushed a Qin soldier's head. A gold refiner soldier held a large sword and vigorously slashed out, sending a Qin soldier flying, while a gold refiner soldier smashed a Qin soldier's body with a hammer. Suddenly, a massive rat-like creature appeared from the air. It was Qin's cosmos beast. These cosmos beasts appeared behind Qin's soldiers and ferociously attacked the people constructing the metal stairs. They slashed out with their claws, bringing with them 5 sharp lights that cut open those people's bodies, causing blood to fly everywhere. They then opened their mouths and bit down, crushing those people's bodies. Some cosmos beasts vigorously rammed into those people, sending countless people flying. Many attacks ferociously attacked the cosmos beast. This was the rear of the army, but there were many soldiers here, and some of them were responsible for protecting the metal stairs. Facing these ferocious attacks, the cosmos beasts were unable to defend and could only hide within the air and disappear. Zhao Fu immediately ordered his soldiers to attack the metal stairs. Sharp lights slashed against the metal stairs, and after losing the gold refiner's power, the metal stairs became quite weak. They were quickly shattered, and many gold refiner soldiers fell from the sky. Boom! 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 Metal spears once again shot out, and metal alchemy formations appeared in the sky. The metal spears gave off terrifying power as they shot towards Great Qin's soldiers on the defensive walls. Qin soldiers raised their shields or sent out cold lights to defend, but many of them were pierced through the chests and immediately died. Swish, 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 swish. Qin's side once again shot out many ballista bolts. The ballista bolts gave off massive sharp auras as they descended like raindrops, piercing through soldiers' chests, causing blood to spurt out and howls to continuously sound out. Boom! 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 The god beast's cannons once again gave off intense light, and a terrifying aura spread out as terrifying beams of light containing destructive power shot out towards the city walls. Boom! 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 On Great Qin's side, countless holy light emissaries stretched out their hands towards the holy beasts and powerful white lights shot out, bringing with them immense power. A white gale appeared as they shot towards the holy beasts. Bang! Bang! You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.